604 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP mornings with Brian Haldane off and running. Brian here with you, John LaBeouf producing, getting you ready for a Wednesday show. A Wednesday show that will bring you Legally Served with attorney Franz Borghardt. A Wednesday show that will bring you Dr. Cade Brumley, our state superintendent of education. A Wednesday show that will bring you Congresswoman Julia Letlow and economist Dr. Scott Burns as well, as it is what are we calling it? Liberation Day with the tariffs. All that's coming your way throughout the show this morning. Before we get started with top stories and trending, big shout out to the folks at the Pelican Institute and the wonderful job they did yesterday as the Solution Summit went off without a hitch. Wow, so much content, so much covered, so much absorbed. As always, it is always a fantastic event, and one of those many, well, not many, but one of the handful of things that I look forward to every year, getting ready for the legislative session, kind of get the pulse, the tone of what's to come. So shout out to Daniel Erspamer, shout out to his entire team, and all the folks at the Pelican Institute do a wonderful job, not just with the Solution Summit, but year round. In the days to come, we'll break down a few of the hot button items, a few of the takeaways that I had as they cross streams with incoming legislation. All right. Top stories and trending. Let's get it.
Number 5.
Oh, you knew everybody wasn't going to be happy about it, but here it is. After the much celebrated announcement of a multi-billion-dollar Hyundai steel mill to be built in Ascension Parish, some residents aren't feeling so festive. Our news partners at WBRZ reporting the announcement last week came from the White House. President Trump, Governor Landry, much of the state's congressional delegation in attendance. Back in Louisiana, local officials watched as a group and lauded the deal as transformational for Ascension Parish. I was in that room. Ashley Ganyard, founder of Rural Roots Louisiana, says she is concerned about additional dangers, quote, with the expansion of all the plants that's coming, especially the ammonia plants that's coming, and the new steel plant. Besides worrying about the carcinogen chemicals we already deal with now, we'll have to deal with metal. My concern is the population will decrease. This is in complete opposition to what just about everybody else has had to say. They're setting this plant up to do it differently. They've got an entirely green approach to it, so we'll see how it plays out. Congressman Troy Carter last Tuesday, not yesterday, but last Tuesday, said exactly that. This is meant to be clean. So we'll see.
Number 4.
2 people were killed in separate shootings in less than 2 hours yesterday. First person shot to death around 6:30 p.m. at Lamargie Avenue near North Christie Drive. Police said it appeared to be a targeted killing. While officers were at the scene, they heard nearby gunfire that sent onlookers dashing for cover. The second killing occurred on Avenue E shortly before 8 p.m. The victim in that shooting was an elderly man, police said.
Number 3.
The parish coroner's office responded to reports of a body being found in the Mississippi River yesterday morning. Officials confirmed the coroner was responding to the area around 200 South River Road. That's near the USS Kidd Museum and the planetarium.
Number 2.
A permanent traffic change for I-10 westbound exits at College Drive will go into effect on Sunday, according to DOTD. Beginning Sunday, a new far-right exit lane will travel only to Corporate Boulevard with a rollover curb separating that lane from College Drive. The remaining 3 exit lanes of the interstate will end at the College Drive signal and be separated between turning north or south on College.
Number 1.
Louisiana's Department of Wildlife and Fisheries is about to feel the effects of douche. They're facing a sharp budget reduction for the next year with a total request of just under $200 million. They're down $94 million from last year. The decline is mainly due to a $71 million drop in federal funding. What's trending, John?
Well, today is the day where tariffs kick in and we learn what is real, what is not, and how it will affect us.
Scott Burns, 7:15. We got him coming on. We had economist Dr. Scott Burns on last week or week before?
I believe
with kind of the primer on tariffs, right?
Yes, indeed. So we get a little bit more clarification, right?
Yes, but it's not as simple as the price of everything's about to go through the roof.
Right.
You know what this guy likes?
What is that guy like?
Chaos.
Ooh,
And I think we're about to get a little bit of chaos.
yeah.
Yeah. And you know how
Oh,
well
yeah.
we respond good to chaos. Like we respond to a new exit ramp where one lane goes one way and 2 lanes go. Yeah, this is going to
Right.
be beautiful. I'm just getting a box of popcorn and lean back.
How are you comparing Tariffs to the exit ramp at college?
Chaos. I
That's
thought I
not-
made the analogy pretty
that's-
clear.
But the analogy doesn't apply because the new exit ramp is going to put everything where it needs to be. The opposite of chaos. It will be order.
Like a traffic circle, I'm sure all our Baton Rouge drivers and those from out of state and out of town will immediately understand and execute the proper exits to create no traffic issues as a result of this new, efficient, and well thought out DOTD exit.
Have you seen it?
Dude, I am excited.
You should
Excited.
be. You should be.
I-
Look,
Just because
I dump
something
on-
is
I
a
dump
good
on
idea,
DOTD as much as anybody.
I think you're missing the point. It's a great idea. It's probably going to be really nice, but never underestimate us
Understood.
and chaos.
Understood.
Back to the point.
Yeah. What else, John?
Well, Raising Cane's founder and Baton Rouge native Todd Graves cracked Forbes' newest list of the richest people in the world. Graves ranked number 293 on the list with a net worth of $9.5 billion.
So strange. Like, just because when you think of the richest people in the world,
Yeah.
Chicken fingers.
chicken fingers. Like, but
That's it.
let's take this a step further. Like, when you think of the richest people of the world, do you think of somebody like you've been in the same room with how many times, right? Like, and I'm not like trying to,
Yeah.
I'm not name dropping Todd Graves like we're friends or anything, but I've been at Retro Night at the Varsity when he's been there. Like, I've never seen Jeff Bezos at Retro Night. Do they? They don't still do Retro Night, do they? That had to go away like 20 years ago.
As a single guy in the room, I will make no comment on that.
No, really cool nonetheless, right? I mean, you have someone local, you have someone from this area, from
Right.
Louisiana.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, this is great.
You can't name me one other person on that Forbes 300 list that you've turned to at 3:00 in the morning when you need some grease to weigh down the alcohol.
Good morning, Baton Rouge.
Good morning. Good morning indeed. In other news, tragic news coming in this morning. Val Kilmer passed away at 65 on Tuesday from pneumonia. So,
All right,
man,
let's take the feedback over on our Facebook live chat. Your favorite Val Kilmer
I
movie.
just posted that.
Okay.
oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah. I'm gonna have one that I don't think is gonna be on anybody else's list because I'm just weird like
That
that.
deep cut, man.
Yeah.
Coming in with the deep cut.
Yeah, John, what's yours?
Oh, man. My most memorable Val Kilmer, I have two. So, Willow and Batman. I know, but just
He
a
was
kid,
terrible Batman.
but nonetheless, you're right. That's when I grew up in the 90s.
All right,
And so,
I'm not here
For
to,
me,
crap on
I
it.
got to go
Yeah.
Tombstone. That's best character he
Tombstone,
ever
of
played.
course.
Tombstone is a great one.
Of course. But
But-
just for me being memorable as a, you know,
I mean,
as a
he
kid-
made some bad movies.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah. A lot of-
Batman's probably up there in that list, but just for me, pure nostalgia.
Okay.
Just, you know.
the movie that introduced him to the world that I think everybody has forgotten.
The Secret, where he was a secret
Top
agent.
Secret.
Yeah.
Top Secret. 1984. He was
Wow.
legitimately funny. It was awesome. So I'll roll with that one for right now. Truth of the matter is, I'd probably go with Heat because he wasn't.
Oh, yeah.
He wasn't the top two characters,
But he did a good.
but he was awesome in that. Yeah.
Great.
All right. 613 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. We got a lot of sports to cover, so let's go ahead and break it here. Come back. We will talk LSU baseball, LSU softball, and men's basketball doing work in the transfer portal. That's next.
I liked Spartan. He had a weird kind of role in Spartan.
Yeah.
Nobody really has thrown out Top Gun.
Top Gun feels like it should be the answer,
His
right?
role, his Iceman role, pretty good, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Well, yeah. I mean, while Top Secret was his first movie, Iceman,
You had to
was-
be
that's
able
what-
to
that's what-
slightly hate him.
right?
In Top Gun.
Oh, yeah. And he was good with those type of characters. Like,
He played Moses. Moses.
wait, I
What,
didn't know
Ten
he played-
Commandments, the musical?
No, Prince of Egypt. It was
Oh.
the name of the animated cartoon.
Oh.
Jeff Goldblum played Aaron.
The
It's amazing that I
Nice.
know this.
I'm gonna have to, yeah. I'll have to go back and watch that, man. I
Real Genius was a good movie.
Oh, Real Genius.
Yeah. Yeah. I liked The Saint, but I kind of had a thing for Elizabeth Shue.
Yeah, I was going to
didn't?
say, nobody
Who
watched The
didn't?
Saint for him.
There was a weird scene in there where she was like, had secret notes of a formula and she was keeping them in her bra. It was weird.
Yeah, well, it's 2025 and I've still got the babysitting blues.
Eric writes, Top Gun 2 without him would have been a bummer for me. I know I'm going to say something very unpopular.
Uh-oh.
Everybody loved Top Gun 2. I was like, meh.
It was a little underwhelming.
Meh. It's kind of how I feel about a Caniac. It's priced now. Bang, bang!
Dang.
Never miss an opportunity to shit on a sponsor.
I didn't know they were a sponsor. I'm sorry.
Not of this show directly, but they.
You didn't give me I told you, give me a list, sir.
Sure.
I didn't say anything negative about Rocco. Shout out to Rocco's Po' Boys.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I could use a bowl of some good Rocco's Po' Boy gumbo.
Man,
Like
I've been craving
it, dude.
Try that out.
Drusilla's a good little pocket. Dude, Veracruz. We talked about it last time I was on.
Mm-hmm.
I went back to Veracruz to kind of expand out the menu.
Yeah.
Bro. It's ridiculously good. And like there's nothing else like it in Baton Rouge right now.
We're working on getting him on for Foodie Friday. He wants to come on after Lent.
Mm-hmm. Cinco de Mayo.
What we're aiming for.
Caniacs are delicious. I take back my previous fair price.
Just to confirm, I know we
2.1 for baseball,
is
6.2
Jones solo, right?
Yeah.
And then 6.2 is Edwards' 3-run homer.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, just check.
617 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. 12-3 your final score last night. LSU beats Louisiana Tech in the box, and I mean it was. Of course, the box score is not going to be here for me. Tell you what, let's just do it this way. All right, LSU no problems with Louisiana Tech last night. William Schmidt got the start. Obviously, I don't have his stat line across the board because, no box score printed up on the website. But Tigers moved to 27-3 on the season. They got out right away. I want to say a couple of 4 runs or so in the first inning. Come the second inning, you started seeing the ball leave the park, including this one from the Bear.
Jones reaches out, sends one high and deep. This baby is out of here. Home run number 11 for Jared Jones. That'll make it 5-1.
You would see a couple more balls leave the yard before the night was over with, and the Tigers roll. They just 12-3. I mean, it's an impressive win, even for a midweek game. So LSU now hits the road. Another Thursday, Friday, Saturday series this week. They are at Oklahoma. Like I said, Thursday, Friday, Saturday will be on our sister station, Eagle 98.1. Of course, you're home for LSU baseball all season long. First game is tomorrow, 6 p.m. on Eagle, 5:30 for your pregame. Moving over to softball, Beth Torina's Tigers get a win on the road. They were at McNeese last night. They post up a 12-2 final score there. Tigers were actually trailing in this one for some time before, I want to say it was like pretty deep in the game, like the 6th inning, before things really turned around and the floodgates opened. They were down at 1 point 2-1, and then Tori Edwards leaves the yard.
And the 3-2. Fly ball to left. It's hit a long way. It's way up. It's way back, and it is way out of here. Tori Edwards drills one deep into the night, and it is 4-2 LSU.
4-2 would turn into 6-2, which would just escalate from there. So Beth Torina and her Tigers, they are going to be at home this weekend. if you were looking for some great softball action, Tiger Park is going to be the place to be. Friday, Saturday, Sunday series hosting number 24 in the country, Alabama. 6 p.m. your first pitch on Friday. That'll be right here on Talk 107.3 FM with the pregame starting at 5:45. Patrick Wright will be on the call there. We'll talk about men's basketball later. Right now, let's get you the Fox Business Report.
I mean, he was a blockbuster movie star for a period of time, like 90s, but like I think Brian's absolutely right. He was one of his best roles. What year was Tombstone?
91? 92? 93? 93? I say it's 93. Oh. Remember when he was the bad guy in MacGruber? MacGruber! Yeah, he was, what was his character's name? It was...
I think he settled into some supporting roles that were pretty impressive.
Yeah.
He was in Alexander. I've forgotten about that. Oliver Stone movie. Riders in the storm. Oh, he was in Island of Dr. Moreau. Ooh. Yeah. Ghost in the Darkness wasn't terrible.
Ghost in the Darkness was great.
At first sight, he played a blind dude. Batman Forever was 93. Tombstone, same year. December of 1993, Batman for... I'm sorry, you're right. You're right. My bad. I misread that. I misread it. Willow was one of my favorite roles for him.
They tried redoing it. They tried doing a reboot on Disney Plus, and
the
or
series
like
was
sequel.
the series. It was a series.
The series.
It was okay.
Oh, man.
What was the series?
Willow.
Did he come back for that?
No,
he didn't.
No.
Okay. I figured he didn't, but
Mad Mardigan.
Mad Mardigan, yeah.
Galen writes, I think he stepped up from Real Genius.
Going to start you off on I-12 westbound, where we've got an accident on 12 West near Drusilla by Jefferson. That accident is causing some pretty major delays to start off your morning. It's going to be backed up to before Airline, and then you've got just slowdowns before that. So if you're coming into Baton Rouge from Livingston Parish, expect delays by about Sherwood is where you'll start to tap the brakes, but it does come to a stop pretty quickly after that. Backing things up on 12 westbound to get back into Livingston Parish, get your normal volume over there by Denham Springs by the Range Avenue on-ramp. You will see some stop-and-go traffic for just a quick minute right there. I-10 westbound coming into town is looking good on 10 West coming in from Ascension. 10 eastbound's looking great coming from across the river. 110's looking great as well. Meanwhile, on your surface streets, there's... Oh, hang on now. Okay. I just said 10 westbound was looking good. That might change in the next couple of minutes. Apparently, there's a stalled vehicle in the roadway, 10 westbound near Essen Lane. That popped up on the board about 2 minutes ago, so be on the lookout for that. Back to your surface streets, there's only one accident to report right now. It was reported about 15 minutes ago. Florida Boulevard at South Donmore, BRPD is working it, and the crash has been moved off the roadway. That's really good traffic from the Shaw Bills Tire Traffic Center. .624, Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP, mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. We're getting you to Legally Served here in just a quick second, but I do need to remind you first. Talk 107.3 and the Baton Rouge Clinic bring you the 2025 Dreams Come True Radiothon. Dreams Come True is an organization designed to help grant dreams for children with life-threatening illnesses and their families. Following local businesses have also pledged to match your donations throughout the month. That'd be Lewis Mechanical, Patient Plus, and Action Industries, plus Subaru of Baton Rouge, Service Chevrolet, Luba, and Duplessis Pool Builders. Visit talk1073.com to help us reach our goal. And together, we can make dreams come true. All right. We do it about this time every Wednesday. It's time for Legally Served. What you say, Franz?
Sad this morning.
Are you sad this morning?
Sad this morning. Val Kilmer.
Oh, well,
Val
I
Kilmer.
mean, that's...
We talked about it a little bit.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, why not?
Who's next? Who's next?
What do you mean, who's next?
I mean, what other, like, childhood star, like, from my childhood, I mean...
We're getting that age, though, man. We're getting that age. And they sting a little bit more, don't they?
You know what would make me feel better?
What?
If you said the name of this defendant we're going to talk about in the way I know you can say him. He's a Super Mario Brothers character.
Luigi.
Yeah, it's a Luigi time.
It is Luigi time.
His trouble, his situation got a little bit worse.
So things tend to get worse when the U.S. Attorney General starts poking around in your case. U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi said yesterday she has directed federal prosecutors to seek the death penalty against Luigi Mangione, the man accused of gunning down United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson outside a New York City hotel back on December 4th.
So New York State is a non-capital state.
Right.
But
That's
the federal
where I wanna start.
government,
Right.
you know, the buildings that fly the American flag,
yeah,
they can absolutely seek the death penalty if all the right legal mechanisms are in place. And so, yeah, this isn't I mean, look, regardless of how you feel about the death penalty, this would be an appropriate, like, cross interstate lines. You know, there's weirdness about the gun. I mean, did he 3D print the gun? I don't know. Cold blooded, like in the middle of the street. Yeah.
And there's the corporate terrorism angle of this one as well because of who the target was.
That's going to be difficult, but that would be that. This is a murder case.
Mm-hmm.
It's when you start trying to make things into things that complicate the prosecution.
That's where I wanted to start.
But at the core, it's a murder case. Is it terrorism? Well, it could be domestic terrorism, right?
I would think so.
I think that. I mean, I think that will be a more uphill battle for the feds, but not impossible. And look, at the end of the day, he's got the state charges and then he's got the federal charges.
Mm-hmm.
State, he's looking at life. If he gets convicted, feds, possibly death.
I've got a couple of different questions about this. So where is he tried federally?
In New York, most likely, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
Okay. I know this is going to sound oversimplified.
It's in a district court in New York. Yeah.
I know this is going to sound oversimplified, but if New York is not a death penalty state and you try him and you give him a death penalty trial within New York, do you have to haul him somewhere else to kill him?
No. Well, so remember, and this is something that people sometimes forget, you're a citizen of the United States of America, but you're also, there's different sovereignties at play at any given moment. So you're also a citizen of New York State. You're also a citizen of your county. You're also a citizen of your city. No different than Baton Rouge. You're a member of the state of Louisiana. You're a citizen of East Baton Rouge Parish. You're a citizen of Baton Rouge. You're a citizen of the United States. 4 different citizenships in the same spot, right?
Mm-hmm.
Different sovereignties have different laws, and those laws overlap, but they can prosecute you either way. And just because the state of New York doesn't want to put you to death or doesn't put you to death, but you are asking where they're going to put him to death,
right?
Don't know the answer to that.
That's okay. That's what I was asking. Is I'm sure they can hold the trial. I'm sure they can come to a decision.
How about this?
But if you don't have the equipment to put someone to death, then what?
I'm going to give you a teaser. Isn't that what this guy wants? Do you think this guy wants to be in jail for the rest of his life, or do you think he wants to be put down and be a martyr?
We're gonna have to unpack that.
Let's unpack.
We're gonna have to unpack that because there's a lot that goes into that because I believe he would have committed suicide by cop if he wanted that. Like that, what went into his plan to kill Brian Thompson, United Healthcare CEO. What went into his plan included escape. If your plan includes escape, it's
Okay.
Tell you what, we're gonna hit a break on the air. We'll continue on Facebook Live, of course. When we come back, we'll pick it up with the story. We've got a few more to cover as well, including dragging up 5-year-old campaign ads down in New Orleans.
I forget. You got nothing else to do?
Oh man, he's Franz Borghardt. It's Legally Served. We continue next. Do you have Court TV this morning?
I do.
Okay. We're going to 50.
I do. So Top Gun 2, did they do Kelly McGillis wrong? I mean, she aged like a human being. I mean, she's not Jennifer Connelly. They're about the same age, huh?
Jennifer Connelly?
Yeah, that was the Labyrinth. That was the heartthrob.
Yeah. She was
I'm doing it.
Requiem for a Dream too. That was a wild movie.
She is 54. I think Kelly's a little older.
Jennifer Connelly looks fine.
Yes, she does. Kelly McGillis is 67.
Yeah.
Tom Cruise is how old?
Around that same age?
I don't know, dude.
He's in his 60s for sure, right?
Tom Cruise is 62.
Yeah.
Wow. I would have lost money on that bet. 62 years old. Tom Cruise is 62.
Mm-hmm.
He looks about 42.
He's had some work, right? I mean,
I'm sure. Oh, come on. Yeah.
he's had some work. A little bit. Maybe a nose job.
Oh, Kelly McGillis looks great
I am
now.
impressed that he does his own stunts though for Mission Impossible movies.
I don't think she ever looked badly. I think she
Oh,
aged.
she most certainly did. What was the
She had some life, dude.
hang on, am I thinking of a different actress?
Kelly McGillis didn't make a lot of movies, although she was in Blind Sight with him.
Now I'm gonna have to remember the name of this Netflix series. Christy and I watched it, and I'm not gonna remember it. Oh, by the way, good morning, Christy. Yes, Connolly does look better than McGillis. Good morning, Chandler, as well.
Well, I mean, to be fair, Connolly's like a decade younger.
Right. What was the name of this series? By the way, side note here, I'm working on a theory that brain farts and pollen season coincide.
You are getting to that age.
That's
Brain fart age.
but pollen season especially.
I'm bad with names. And it's getting worse.
Really?
Like if I call
I
you,
wasn't thinking attorney would be bad with
if-
it. Like,
if I-
really, like
if I call you fella, I definitely don't know your name. How are you, sir? Don't know your name.
dang.
And it's not like a intentional, like, I think I'm
Right.
better than everybody. It's
No,
just, I'm
no.
bad with names.
No, I get it. Like, yeah.
Unless you have a really cool name. Haldane.
Yeah.
Haldane.
Just
How do they pronounce it? Haldane.
Halden.
Too
Coolip.
much emphasis on the second
Coolip.
syllable.
Coolip. Coolip.
What the hell was the name of this? It's not on anybody's.
It's really bothering you.
I don't remember who was in it. I just remember it was.
What was the
Wait,
plot?
Michael Douglas. Was Michael Douglas in it?
Almost worse than the Shazam, the Sinbad movie.
Which was never a movie.
Friends, like, remember that series with? It's like,
No,
Brian,
no.
I don't know if it's
Sinbad the
there.
comedian was in it, and it was called Shazam. Or did it have Shaquille O'Neal? Was Shaquille O'Neal ever a genie in a movie?
yes,
Called
that one exists. That one
Shazam.
exists. Yes, that one exists. That's legit. but
He
it's
also
the Sin
played a
Batman.
superhero.
Yeah, it was Steel. I think it
Mhm.
was. Was it
Just
Steel?
didn't explode off. But he made some movies.
I was into some cheesy 90s movies, man. And now looking back on it, I don't know, man. They still hold a special place in my little heart.
Kathleen Turner, that's who I was thinking of.
Ooh. I like that raspy Kathleen Turner voice.
Yeah, you don't want to see her today.
She aged like a human being. Like we're going to age. Except Franz Borghardt, who seems to be getting younger looking and skinnier as time progresses. I spoke too soon. I'll probably get really fat again.
She aged like
The gods of fatness are very fickle and vengeful. Easily offended, sir. Kathleen Turner didn't age well.
The Kaminsky Method. That was the name of the show.
Oh yeah, with
Michael Douglas.
Michael Douglas and Alan Arden was in
Arkin.
Arkin.
What was the show about?
They were
So,
actors.
One was a producer. But it was
the first season of that.
Old school Hollywood guys. One was an actor, one was a producer, but they were like the old guard of Hollywood, and they don't really fit in today's world. It was about
Michael
aging
Douglas
and
he was
getting up to pee in the middle of the night, and it was a really good show.
It was good. The first season was great.
He's married to Catherine Zeta-Jones, right?
Michael Douglas.
Yeah.
Who was great in Chicago, but terrible in Ocean's 12.
Felt like a forced part. Can we pretend like Ocean's 12 didn't even happen? Can we
No.
pretend?
All three Ocean's movies were awesome. Yeah, I'll stand by 13. It had
I
Pacino.
like 13. 12, I just want to pretend like it didn't happen.
Time to get a look at your forecast. Here's WBRZ meteorologist Emma Kate Cowan. The making Julia Roberts play Julia Roberts was,
And making her look more normal.
right. That was funny. My favorite line of the movie is our grease man's because they put yen in the bag. Our grease man's in a bag. Casey Affleck has got a bag, man. Oh yeah.
Underappreciated actor.
Casey Affleck, yeah. Well, he did that stupid Manchester by the Sea. That was awful. Oh. 637 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. Attorney Franz Borghardt in for Legally Serve. We got Franz for another 12 minutes, so we'll get back into it in just a second. Talk 107.3 welcomes comedian Rob Schneider to the Raisins Cane's River Center on Friday, May 16th for his You Can Do It tour. It says I gotta say it like that. You Can Do It tour. Register at talk1073.com and listen to this show for your chance to win tickets to the show. Plus, when you sign up to win online, make sure you subscribe to our Talk 107.3 Baton Rouge YouTube channel for an extra entry.
What does the Rob Schneider ticket go for, you think?
I don't know.
It's not Taylor Swift. I mean,
no, but
probably.
I don't know what a stage show Rob Schneider looks like.
I think it's under $100.
Oh God, yeah, probably half that.
Okay,
I dropped 50 on a Rob Schneider ticket.
He was actually a pretty good comedian.
Very good.
Not a terrible actor.
Well, he's doing serious stuff now too.
Oh, really?
There is. Oh, now I'm not gonna remember the name of that one either. I'm just brain farting all over the place this morning. But yeah, he's doing serious and he's good.
Okay.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Like he's on Netflix or
I believe so.
Yeah.
Look at the IMDb him and look up what his latest thing is.
Okay.
He was all over TikTok the other day, proving that the algorithm listens to you because I was talking to Cade about this promotion. And then as soon as I walked out of the office, I get Rob Schneider videos on my TikTok.
He is talking about doing an all ladies talk show that's opposite of The View.
No.
Looks like the average ticket price is around $80.
$80?
Was it woke
Good
up?
for him.
Hold on. He made some statements recently and that
No, I don't
are
wanna-
clouding
I don't care
are
about-
clouding what you're looking for. Oh, this is killing me.
Yeah, we're supposed to be talking about Luigi.
Luigi time. Luigi's in trouble, man.
So what I want to talk about though is time frame here.
Okay.
Because and we'll get back to Rob Schneider later on, maybe not. But time frame wise, this is going to be a slow process.
It does,
but
it will slow down everything.
Okay, but walk me through procedurally. Does federal trump state? Are they going to try him for federal charges first?
Well, theoretically, they have nothing to do with each other. Theoretically, they're separate sovereignties that don't have to wait on the other. But typically, what you would do is you would halt one until the disposition of the other, and the death penalty one is going to be more serious,
right?
So, whereas the murder trial in New York State Court would have had a pretty straightforward, and direct pathway to maybe a couple of years and then a trial and then or a resolution. I mean, death penalty cases go on for a long time.
Right.
Yeah.
That's my point. Now, if you're in New York and you have to wait your turn until after the federal trial, now you're talking about justice taking even longer here.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, but but we've said this before. You don't have to agree with me, but we've said it before. If you want to put someone down like a dog, you gotta do it right, and the law requires that it takes longer, unless you're in Texas, which they seem to fast track it.
Well, but there's other extenuating parts of this that when you have an overwhelming amount of evidence,
right.
There's a difference between making sure this is done right and dragging it out for the sake of dragging it out.
So the biggest question, and we talked about this on Court TV yesterday, the biggest question is what do people do with this crime? There seems to be a divide. There seems to be people who are like, man, that's cold-blooded murder, ain't okay. And then there seems to be people like, I mean, you got to break a few eggs to make an omelet. He killed a healthcare CEO. Keep it moving. I'm not saying this victim deserved to die. I'm saying there is a gulf of divide. The Gulf of America is the divide between, see what I did there?
Yeah.
Between these two. And so is there going to be a sleeper cell juror that slips onto the jury and says, I'm not going to vote this dude dead?
Because the statement was bigger than the
you
crime?
and I's taxpayer money is going to pay a lot of money to try to put him down.
Yeah.
I mean, that, and I'm okay with that. If that the U.S. attorney in that jurisdiction was appointed to do his job or her job. I don't know which it is. But point is, it's going to be expensive. It's going to take some time.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if New York citizens, your better question that you didn't ask is if the state of New York is against death penalty, your federal jury is going to be New Yorkers. Are they also going to be against death penalty?
We hadn't gotten to that far down the page yet. That's still to come. Before we get to that, I wanted to ask the question of what charges federally are different than the murder charge statewide?
So generally your federal charges are going to deal with interstate commerce. There's going to be the terrorism charges. So, and then there's capital murder in the federal system.
Right.
So you have to check certain boxes, right? But I think a massive murder conspiracy where you travel across state lines and all that will probably do it.
Okay. The reason I'm asking that is because one sets up the other.
Right.
Is the feds can't swing and miss on this. On the federal charges, if he is not found guilty of murder, doesn't that set the table for the state to prosecute the same?
No double jeopardy, separate murder.
Wow.
That is the weirdest thing that people don't seem to be able to put their minds around.
I know I
it
can't.
flies in the face of our notion of double jeopardy.
Right.
I have clients that are federally prosecuted for drugs, having drugs, possessing drugs, doing whatever with drugs. I have those same clients that are prosecuted in state court for the same charges. You get two bites at the apple. One's a federal court, one's a state court. Two different sovereignties, two different laws, two different government entities taking their bite, taking their swing, your word.
Yeah.
So there's two swings at this. Is he going to get, but the real swing is life or death.
We're going to get that. I promise we're doing that in the very next thing. My follow-up to that is if you are defending him in the state and he's already been found not guilty of murder on a federal level, then isn't that your whole case right there?
Well,
Franz, as a criminal defense attorney, isn't that your
I
whole
feel
case
good.
right there? Right.
I feel good.
To be able to say, we've been down this road before. I point you to everything that the
I may want that transcript from the court.
Right.
I may want to talk to some of those jurors.
Right.
Different crimes, technically the same facts, but different crimes. Though. That's the other kicker. Is yes, it would be.
Murder is going to be on both of them.
Correct. So the fundamental question becomes, how in the world would you find this guy? He's presumed innocent until trial. But come on, man. Didn't he make a confession? Isn't he on video?
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of facts.
Yeah.
There's a manifesto, air quotes, manifesto. I'm not gonna say it's not a manifesto because it may be on like paper.
Right.
Where scribbles.
Yeah. Cutting letters out of magazines. What's the magazine? Yeah. All these things are true. And he's still innocent until proven guilty. But my point on that front is that if he can't be convicted of murder on a federal level, murder is one of the charges on the state level. So if I'm the feds, then if I'm prosecuting this on the federal level, then man, that really ups the game.
So the advantage to the federal court is remember, from the side of capital defense doing death penalty work, what's a win when you're a defense attorney defending someone who's it's life or death? Life. Anything not death.
Right. Now,
whether or not he agrees with that or not, totally different conversation.
Mm-hmm.
But there are times where you can negotiate life. And it's an easier path. To some degree, it's an easier path because it's like, but I don't know that the U.S. attorney is going to even allow that.
I don't think the U.S. attorney would allow that because the attorney general doesn't want that. If this were that, you wouldn't see U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi speaking out saying we want the death penalty.
There you go.
Like from jump, this is so life is a loss for her.
He's young enough. He's young enough to where he could get convicted and get the death penalty and actually be put to death.
Yeah.
Some of the more old timers,
Mm-hmm.
# Todd Lee,
Mm-hmm.
died of natural causes waiting to be put to death.
Yeah.
So he's young enough to where it could happen.
Yeah. All right. Now, likelihood that it does, this walks us up to, like you said, New York is not a death penalty state. What's the likelihood that you find a jury,
place, man.
a unanimous jury that says execute him?
And we're not talking about rural New York. We're talking about New York City.
Right.
I mean, so the federal jurisdiction is going to be in New York City. Now, it may include boroughs and counties around there because federal courts are not generally just like one county, one parish. It's several.
Right.
So, I don't know, man. It's weird. There are people in New York that want to put this dude down. And then there are people in New York that are like, yeah, I'm glad he said, I hope he burns in hell.
Right.
So, I don't know. I just don't know.
So, first and foremost, we don't know which district this is in.
No, I didn't
okay.
pick that up.
Yeah. All right.
Candid.
Just making sure.
I can get that for you.
We got 2 minutes left. Can we move over to
Dang,
I don't
dude.
know. I know. But I wanted to get this in. There's a story out of New Orleans where Sidney Torres was backing a judicial candidate 5 years ago. You sent this one to me?
Yeah.
Can you unpack this in 2 minutes?
I don't know if we can, but a long story.
Do you want to hold on to it till next week?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because they've had the hearing, and I want to know what happened with it. But look, here's the thing. We have a weird system of electing state judges, and there are rules for advertising.
Yeah.
I guess this will be a teaser for next week. And apparently, you can get in trouble for things that happened like 5 years ago.
It makes no sense to me.
I guess there's no statute of limitation.
All right, then we need to, we'll push pause on that until next week. In the meanwhile, he's attorney Franz Borghardt. You got to get over to Court TV. All right, brother. Appreciate you as always. Back at it next week. Before we get you to your money now, got to remind you about the folks over at Mathern's. Hey, every Wednesday, Mathern's is out with new specials. So I feel a little odd doing the spot right now because I know that coming up in about an hour from right now, I'm going to know what all the specials are of the week. And I'm going to know that because I've got the Mathern's Rewards app. So every Wednesday, they come out with their new weekly ad. They come out with their new specials like, oh, no, here it is. Okay, you're saving $1 on Fiora paper towels. That's one of the specials they're offering up this week. The featured coupons, $1 off a 24-pack of water, $1 off of 1 pound of ground turkey. King charcoal, save $1 there. Save $1 off the 12-pack of Food Club soft drinks, and the list goes on and on. Now, not only do you have all those coupons, all those dollar off coupons right there, but you're earning cash towards more groceries every time you shop. You need to download the Mathern's Rewards app today. Download the Mathern's Rewards app today. It's good at all 3 locations: downtown, campus, or Kenilworth. What did our caller want?
So the caller was calling in to make a comment about Luigi Mangioni's case by saying that he thinks, I don't know if this is conspiracy level, whatever, but that Brian Thompson's death was a suicide. So basically, he paid,
God.
Yeah, that he paid Luigi Mangione to kill him in public, though, like just a public execution. Right. That's literally, yeah.
Okay.
I said that's a fascinating take, but okay. Like,
is there any evidence towards that?
Right.
Did he have any evidence, or is this? Are we like?
Or are we just spitballing, seeing what sticks?
Because that would make a great movie.
Yeah.
You pay someone to kill you
for all the wrong you've done, whatever the guilt. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like
terminal cancer he hadn't been diagnosed with yet. In fact, I think that was a movie, wasn't it? Someone had like a diagnosis, so they hired someone to kill them, and then the rest of the movie was them trying to get it called off.
And I think that might have been the case. I think it was a Denzel movie. Everyone was referencing it when all this happened. Let's see. Was it John? I don't know what it was.
John Q.
John Q. I think that's what.
I think in that one, doesn't he hold a hospital hostage to get an operation for his son?
Yeah, but I think people were making the correlation between the two when this happened. I think that's what people were saying. Yeah, he apparently needs a heart transplant. They're behind on their payments, things like that. So yeah, I think John's health insurance will not cover the surgery due to them changing his policy. So yeah, I could see why the correlation was made, between the two. But yeah. Rob Schneider. Oh, I think the movie you were talking about was it Dead Wrong?
Dead Wrong. Vegas dancers?
Yeah.
All right.
You can do it.
Nice. .655 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. Not our topic of conversation for this segment, but I do need to remind you that we were when we were doing our sports segment, we ran short on time. Ran out of time before I can mention that LSU men's basketball, they're getting work done in the portal, y'all. Picked up point guard out of UNLV, Deaton Thomas. He signed with the Tigers back on Monday night, actually, was what it was. We're talking starter for every game, scores in double figures per game. He was the number 4 overall player in the transfer portal by 247, ranked 9th overall by ESPN. He was in that top 10 according to On3 as well. This is a big get for LSU men's basketball, and this is on the heels of picking up the center from Mississippi State, Nwoko, who didn't have a huge stat line, but also didn't play a whole lot of minutes for some reason. But Matt McMahon is obviously doing work right now, so we'll continue to follow it as the offseason wears on. Got to remind you about the folks over at Cajun Soft Wash. CajunSoftWash.com is the website. CajunSoftWash.com. A friend of mine was asking me the other day if Brian, how do you know you need Cajun Soft Wash? I mean, your roof is your roof. It just looks like it looks. And so we took a look up at his roof, and you could see a noticeable difference in the color of his shingles. Like where you have like the whirly bird, or where you'd have a dormer, or where you'd have anything that breaks the normal roof line, exhaust vent, whatever, anything that breaks that normal roof line. Take a look. If you see a difference in the color of shingle, you might need to give them a call. You might need to hit up the website. In fact, hit up the website and let them come out and give you the lowdown on what you actually need here, because the stains on your roof, it's not just discoloration. There could be more going on there, where you're talking algae, where you're talking mold, where you're talking mildew, where you're talking about things that will eat away at your shingles, thereby shortening the lifespan of your roof. You don't want that. CajunSoftWash.com. Your roof, your walls, your sidewalks, they cover it all. Residential and business. Make sure your business, your storefront, is looking as top-notch as possible. That is your business's first impression most times. CajunSoftWash.com. Hey, John, I need you to pop in here for just a second. As we had a caller during the Legally Served segment. We did. Yeah. Was exploring the idea that I'm sorry, just walk me through. We were talking about Luigi Mangione, right?
Yes.
And he hit you with what sounds like a total conspiracy theory to me, but
right.
Give me the lowdown.
Where basically Brian Thompson would pay for a public suicide for Luigi Mangione to kill him for, I guess, the guilt on his conscience, the shady things maybe he's done. I don't know. See, that's very conspiracy theory oriented, but of course, entertaining the idea is something that that's what we do here, right?
I'd be curious if there's any evidence down that rabbit hole. Is there any evidence down that rabbit hole? No,
that would be extremely fascinating if it was, though.
Right.
I mean,
but this totally sounds like a movie plot.
Absolutely. And in most cases, I mean, with conspiracy theories, right? That's where we kind of get these ideas, right? I mean, the idea is implanted by a movie, a series, something, a conversation. And then we just go down that rabbit hole very far, very deep. And it's just like,
this was totally
how
a
far
movie.
is too far?
Okay. My brain is not firing on all cylinders right now to remember what movie this was, but this was a movie.
John Q was the one that a lot of people were mentioning during this time.
That was different though, because it was Denzel's son
right.
who needed a surgery. So he held a hospital hostage to get the surgery.
But maybe if you chase it
someone
further,
was given a terminal diagnosis, so they hired a hitman. Oh, we got to get out. Here comes news.
Yeah. Super fascinating though. But publicly, I could see a few. I don't know. See, now I'm going down the rabbit hole. I'm chasing this. Not privately, but publicly. And who could pay you enough to take that hit? Right?
Yeah.
someone like Luigi Mangione isn't in their right headspace anyway. So I don't know. Yeah, it's really fascinating. Right. Byron says insurance executives feeling guilty. That's basically what I'm thinking as well. The
Yeah,
guilty
I
conscience,
hear you.
but
I hear you, but without a modicum of
I know.
evidence, what are we doing?
I know. Which is exactly right. Hmm. Intriguing. Okay. What were we talking about earlier? About being listened to on your phone?
Yeah.
Sinbad promotes Shazam on the Arsenio Hall show. We were just talking about this. Literally the first thing I see. First thing I see. Wow. And that was posted 12 minutes ago.
Crazy.
See, Renee says publicly would make it more legit, make it look more legit. See, this is where it's dangerous because then we start using our imaginations to say, oh, this could have happened, that could have happened without real facts.
Could have is fine. It's when you start saying it did.
Yeah. That's fascinating. Byron says some insurance companies have incorporated AI into their approval for treatment process. You may not have have a human looking at your health needs. Wow. Really? Hmm. Like how? Like when? Like in that split second, you made that face. Like how?
This is why my wife is constantly asking me what's wrong. Because I have a very animated face. Yeah, I'm not mad. I'm not like it's just this is just how I look.
It weighs down. This caveman forehead just weighs down on my little eyes.
7:05 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP mornings with Brian Haldane continuing right now. Hour 2 coming your way. Brian here with you, John LaBeouf producing. Back on the home front today, not on the road like yesterday. 76 degrees in downtown Baton Rouge to start off your 7 o'clock hour. Busy 7 o'clock hour as well. We're going to have a very good discussion coming up at 7:35, and I want your feedback. I want your phone calls as well, if you can, at 499-1073. Not until 7:35, though. Troop NOLA, but for Baton Rouge. What's it going to look like? What would you like to see the governor do when it comes to stepping in to fight crime here in the capital city? We'll cover that. We'll also talk about Amendment 2 as the governor's response apparently angered some people Saturday night, although I don't know who. Also this hour, coming up at 7:15, economist Scott Burns is going to rejoin us, I should say. It's today's Liberation Day. So we'll talk with Scott in our next segment. Right now, though, top stories and trending.
Number 5.
2 people were killed in separate shootings in less than 2 hours yesterday. The first person was shot to death around 6:30 p.m. on Lamargie Avenue near North Christie Drive. Police said it happened, it appeared to be a targeted killing. Now, while officers were at the scene, they heard nearby gunfire that sent onlookers dashing for cover. That second killing occurred on Avenue E shortly before 8 p.m. The victim in that shooting was an elderly man.
Number 4.
The parish coroner's office responded to reports of a body being found in the Mississippi River yesterday morning. Officials confirmed the coroner was responding to the area around 200 South River Road near the USS Kidd Museum and the planetarium.
Number 3.
A permanent traffic change for I-10 westbound exits at College Drive will go into effect on Sunday, according to DOTD. Beginning Sunday, a new far-right exit lane. Is that like a MAGA lane? Sorry. Beginning Sunday, a new far-right exit lane will travel only Corporate Boulevard with a rollover curb separating the lane from College Drive. The remaining 3 exit lanes of the interstate will end at College Drive and be separated between turning north or turning south.
Number 2.
Louisiana Department of Wildlife and Fisheries is about to feel the effects of DOGE. They are facing a sharp budget reduction for the next year with a total request of just shy of $200 million. That's down by $94 million, or just shy of a third. The decline is mainly due to a $71 million drop in federal funding.
Number 1.
Number 1 takes us back to this weekend as the Better Business Bureau letting us know that Shred Fest is coming up. If you got any spare personal information laying around, any paperwork you need gone, the 18th annual Better Business Bureau's Shred Fest is happening this weekend. It's a free event to help fight ID theft by shredding paper documents that contain personal information. We'll have all the details for you as we get closer to the weekend.
Oh, as you mentioned earlier, today is the day where tariffs kick in and we learn what is real, what is not, and how it will affect us.
As things unfold, it's going to be an interesting day to see what actually pans out.
Indeed.
Because I'm predicting it's not going to be that bad.
No, you don't say.
No. That's
We'll
talk with Scott in our next segment. Let's get it, an educated perspective of this. I know by and large economists don't really care for tariffs, and that's not unusual. But they play one factor in many factors for the overall economy.
Yeah. I know, right? How much do we touch on now rather than
I know. I'm trying not to spoil it.
Right. Looking forward to that. Raising Cane's founder and Baton Rouge native Todd Graves cracked Forbes' newest list of the richest people in the world. Graves ranked number 293 on the list with a net worth of $9.5 billion.
See? It's just so strange, man. It's so strange to have a local on that list.
It's incredible.
Billions of dollars.
Yes.
Billions. $9.5 billion. Tell you
a lot
what.
of chicken, man.
Tell you what. There's a lot of chicken. And not all the chicken, though.
No.
Just the good part.
Yep.
Just the tenderloin.
That's right.
Just the best of the best for the strips there. I mean, you're not getting drumsticks.
Yeah.
Or
man, I can go for Cane's right now.
Same.
Like right now. Like
Wow.
if someone brought in Canes, I'd be like,
I'm trying to do the intermittent fasting thing every day but Friday,
man,
because we have the
with
restaurants in
you.
for Friday. But
but still,
yeah, Canes does sound good.
but it is cool though. I mean, it's amazing. You know, you having someone on that list, and as you mentioned, someone who you may or may not have been in a room with.
Right.
You know,
Right. It's like there's never been a time where I've been, and I'll use the same example as last hour. There's never been a time where I've been at the Varsity for Retro Night with DJ Grand Marquis on the ones and twos, and I turn
Nice.
around and there's Elon Musk. No.
right?
No. Oh, there's Mark Cuban. No.
Yep.
There's Todd Graves. Yes, that's happened.
It's so cool. So cool. Yeah, it's awesome, man. Congratulations to Tom Graves for making the list. In other news this morning, tragic news coming out of Hollywood. Val Kilmer passed away at 65 on Tuesday from pneumonia.
Yeah.
Incredible actor.
Cancer survivor.
Yeah.
Really, Val Kilmer is the epitome of like whether or not he was good was based off the project.
Yeah.
You know, he did a lot of really good movies and he did a lot of really bad movies.
That just goes to show, though. I mean, he wasn't afraid to take the risk, right?
Also true.
Yeah.
Also true.
I think with a lot of artists, I think when we release bad albums, right? It's like they're experimenting. They're trying to figure it out. They're not afraid to fail.
Right.
And I think we see that with someone like Val Kilmer, who was just phenomenal actor,
but
method actor.
Yes,
nonetheless.
but like for every I'm Your Huckleberry,
yeah,
you had the Island of Dr. Moreau.
Yeah.
That's just,
gosh, that's a throwback. I remember it.
Island
That movie
of,
freaked me out as a kid.
yeah. I was working,
Really freaked me out. Marlon Brando was in that movie.
yes,
right?
he was.
Yeah.
He was Dr. Moreau.
Yeah,
right?
he was. Yeah. Very vague. It feels like a fever dream, that movie. But
The whole thing
terrified me as a kid.
It was going on video when I started working at Blockbuster.
Oh.
When I first got to LSU. So I'd first moved, so I guess it had been about the fall of 95.
Yeah. Wow.
Yep. And the island, because remember, like at Blockbuster Video, I don't know why I'm taking us down this path right now. It's not even written down. Quarter of Sherwood and Old Hammond, which is now an Ideal Market. Mind blowing there. But worked there my freshman year at LSU, and you had that video that was always playing that like had all the trailers all the time. And it was a 90-minute video. And okay, for the small group of us that worked at Blockbuster, this is like such a PTSD thing. The videotape, the video cassette tape that was in there, you had to change it out, and there were two of them that rotated. So over the course of an 8-hour shift, you watched the same video like three and a half times. And then it rotated to the other video, but you had to keep taking out, put it back in, unless like somebody got really brave and put in a movie.
Was it automatic? Did it automatically rewind?
No.
Or you had to rewind
No.
it?
Well, we had the rewinding machine there. Yeah. But the Island of Dr. Moreau was one of those ones where that trailer seemed like it was constantly playing. It's like, nobody wants to see this. Just show me the preview for Pulp Fiction and we'll move on.
Right.
713 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Do you have your lunch plans yet? If not, might I recommend PF Chang's? Man, I've been craving the dynamite shrimp. I probably gonna go. I'll save that until Friday. Right? Let's stick with the seafood on Friday. In the meanwhile, if you want those lettuce chicken wraps, you know they're phenomenal. If you want the sesame beef, it is next level. In fact, the whole menu. I have yet to find something on PF Chang's menu that I don't love. And stumbled across this not the last time I was there, but the time before. Chang's Rewards. Sign up for the rewards program. Get yourself some Chang's cash. You got discounts when you're in there. You got exclusive offers that come your way. You get a free dessert on your birthday. It is phenomenal. Chang's Cash, part of Chang's Rewards, is available right now. Just sign up for it. It's quick, it's easy, it's painless. Plus, you get more Chang's. Nothing wrong with that, right? You know where to find them. They're off Corporate Boulevard in Town Center. Look for the giant golden horse. I just texted you Scott's number. Hey, go ahead and save it because we're probably going to call him a lot. Incredible video. Liberation Day is upon us. 717 Talk 1073 FM and WBRP. What does that mean? What's real? What's fake? What's going to play out? Joining us now to talk about the potential enacting of tariffs for today, we've got our go-to economist, Dr. Scott Burns, with us. Scott, how are you, man?
I'm doing good, Brian. Happy Liberation Day. It feels a little bit different, though, than when we had President Whitmore back in the movie Independence Day promising us an Independence Day. This one's a little bit different.
Oh, man, he started to quote a Dylan Thomas poem and then, lost his place, I think is how that movie went.
Whatever it was, it resulted in one of the greatest speeches of all time. I think we both agree.
Yeah, that's the one. We will not go gentle in the night. We will not go out without a fight. It's like, no, you were on your way to something there, man.
That's right.
Oh, goodness gracious. All right, Liberation Day. What can we expect?
So what today basically represents is a major expansion of our tariffs that we've been implementing and that we've seen President Trump expand over the past couple of months. Just to kind of give you an idea of magnitude, we all remember that in President Trump's first administration, back in 2018 and 2019, he implemented tariffs, but they were much more targeted, and they were targeted by industry and nation. So basically, the 2018 tariffs mostly affected the steel and aluminum industry, and there were some other things that were also tariffed, like solar panels and washing machines, but it mostly targeted things like steel and aluminum imports, and then it also targeted China. There were about $350 billion worth of goods that we trade with China, where we saw a hike in the tariff rates from about 10 to 25%. So in general, back in 2018 and 2019, we were talking about tariffs that affected about $400 billion worth of goods. I bring that up as context because if we fast forward to today, the big difference between what President Trump did in his first term and what he's doing now is the magnitude, because these tariffs this time around are much broader. They affect not $400 billion worth of goods like they did in 2018, but $3.2 trillion worth of traded goods. So we're talking about 5 to 10 times the magnitude. And the big thing about today's tariffs, since we're talking about Liberation Day on April 2nd, is this is the implementation of what are called reciprocal tariffs. Now, they haven't been fully fleshed out yet. This is kind of just day one. But what today is about is saying, okay, these other nations have tariffs on our goods that are higher than the ones that we have on theirs. And so we're going to start retaliating in kind of a tit for tat fashion. So we're going to find out a lot more about the details starting today, but this is supposed to be the beginning of the, if you do it to us, we're going to do it to you stage of the trade war.
Okay, what is wrong with that? Just as a layperson on the sidelines, we've seen numerous presidents. Heck, Joe Biden doubled the solar cell tariffs, and I want to say tripled the what's the battery ones? But
right,
that very very specific in nature as well. But if someone is putting a tariff on us, what's the harm in putting it right back on them?
That's a very good question. And I think that we are wired as a species to think in terms of a zero-sum game. Of there's winners and losers and no in between. And just a good example of that is we have March Madness going on right now, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All of those basketball games, that's a zero-sum game because two teams enter the court and only one's going to win. There's going to be a winner and a loser. And that's kind of how we're wired to think of a lot of things in life. And throughout much of human history, that was the case. If you were out in the savannah and you were hunting prey, either you got it or somebody else did. The funny thing, though, is that that's not actually how trade works. Even though sports are a zero-sum game where there's only a winner and a loser and no in between, with trade, both sides are made richer. Both sides are made better off. And so I understand the instinct to say, well, wait a minute. If somebody's being unfair with trade to us, in other words, if they're putting tariffs on U.S.-made goods, then why shouldn't we just respond in kind? I totally get that instinct, but what it's missing is that when other countries put tariffs on our goods, we need to just think in terms of the fact that tariffs are just another word for tax. So what that means is that other countries are putting taxes on American goods. And the important thing to note about tariffs as a tax is that whenever the U.S. government puts a tariff on a good, it's not taxing foreigners. The IRS is not able to go to foreign countries and collect revenue from foreign citizens or foreign companies. It is a tax on U.S. citizens and U.S. companies because we're the ones who ultimately bear those tariffs in the form of higher costs. We're the ones who actually are writing the checks, Uncle Sam. But more importantly, as consumers, we're the ones that are paying those tariffs because then we're paying higher prices for goods. So I say all that to say this. Just because other countries are doing something stupid, that's to say, just because other countries are putting tariffs on U.S. goods, doesn't mean that we should do the same thing to their goods, because that's almost like making the argument that I'm sure that you remember whenever you were a kid and you brought a really silly idea to your parents about something fun that you want to do with your friends. They probably told you something along the lines of, well, if your friends were jumping off the Brooklyn Bridge too, would you do it?
Yeah.
It's the same idea with tariffs. Just because other nations are doing something stupid, raising taxes on their own citizens, and it does hurt us, it hurts our producers because we can't sell them as much stuff, but just because they're doing that to their citizens does not mean that it makes sense for us to retaliate by saying, hey, you can play that game. We're going to hurt our own citizens. We're going to raise our taxes on them.
If another country is putting tariffs on our goods, let's just say, just to make it like, let's say someone's putting tariffs on bicycles. All right. Then Mr. Schwinn is going to have a lower profit margin because it's going to affect his cost of doing business. So while they are essentially taxing their own people, at the same time, though, there are repercussions felt on the home front there as well.
Absolutely. There are repercussions here on the home front as well. The question, though, is what's the best means of addressing that issue? And I don't think that the way to respond to that issue is to say, well, then we're going to do the same thing to them. Mm-hmm. We're going to hurt their domestic companies and our own citizens by implementing tariffs. The interesting thing about economics is that when you actually dive into understanding how trade works, the case for free trade is not a reciprocal one. It's not the case that economists say that we should only practice free trade and have low tariffs on countries that do the same thing to us. It's actually a unilateral one. And that does strike us as being counterintuitive because of the way that we're wired to think of the world in kind of a zero-sum, winner-loser way. But the correct response to nations putting tariffs on our goods is that we don't do any good by following suit and doing the same thing, because all we're doing is destroying domestic jobs and raising taxes on domestic citizens here in the United States whenever we do that. I understand the impulse, but it is a very bad response to a very real problem.
We're talking with economist Dr. Scott Burns about Liberation Day and the implementation of tariffs. And Scott, when you bring up the scoreboard, when you bring up the zero-sum game, I think that lends towards competition. This with tariffs, it's more like I've got too many linebackers and no wide receivers. You've got a bunch of wide receivers and no linebackers. Let's make each other's teams better. I mean, that's trade. That's literally a trade. So this would move away from what's happening on the field and into what happens in the GM's office. That being said, though, is there a way to make everybody work together on this? And where I'm going with this is, until we hear from Donald Trump about what's real and what's not, like, is there a way to know that just the tough talk on the front end could be forcing the hand of other nations right now?
I don't think there's a really good way to know that, especially because now we're talking about not tariffs with one country. We're not just talking about China or Canada and Mexico. Now we're talking about dozens of countries all around the world. So who knows how their different leaders are going to respond. But I will say this. We talked about this a little bit the last time I was on your show. If it was purely the case that this was a negotiating tactic, that we were, to use another sports metaphor, or at least a gambling metaphor, if this was a poker table, I think the way that Donald Trump approaches this that I can kind of understand and sympathize with is, look, I've got the biggest stack of chips at the table. And so I'm going to use that big stack of chips to kind of bully people around to get them to do what I want.
Yes.
And I understand that impulse. I think that there is some truth to that. And I will say, if the net effect of this was that we scared every other nation, we in effect bluffed them using our huge amount of chips because we are the world's biggest economy, the most powerful nation in the world. If we could use that leverage basically to get other nations to reduce their tariffs on us, and so the net effect was a reduction in tariffs, then I would at least be sympathetic to this idea, even though admittedly it's a risky strategy because you're not playing with poker chips, you're playing with American consumers and their pocketbooks, right?
Yes.
The problem to me, though, is that if you trace Donald Trump's logic dating all the way back to the 1980s, the one thing that he's been super, super consistent on is an antagonism to free trade. He thinks that NAFTA and a lot of the free trade agreements that we've reached over the years, or at least the agreements that we've reached to expand trade with other nations, were a terrible idea, that we're losing trade. He speaks about trade in those zero-sum terms that we talked about. And so unless he's been playing a 40-year bluff, I think that the kind of Occam's razor, the easiest explanation is that Donald Trump really likes tariffs. And really quick, I can understand why he does. How did he make his money? He made his money in New York real estate in Manhattan in particular. Well, Manhattan is an island. It's got a fixed size, and so it's a very zero-sum game. Either you get the land, you get the project, or you don't. I think that Donald Trump sees the whole world through that lens. And so even though that might work in the Manhattan real estate market, it doesn't translate. It doesn't apply to global trade because, again, global trade is not a win-lose game. It's a win-win game.
We're talking with economist Dr. Scott Burns about Liberation Day and the potential tariffs to come. Scott, give us the historical perspective here. I know we kind of touched on this the last time you were on, but for those that weren't tuned in then, past presidents and their views on tariffs. This isn't something we've seen a whole lot of in the last, say, we haven't seen as much in the last 50 years as we did, say, back in like the McKinley or Teddy Roosevelt days.
Right. Yeah. So tariffs used to be a bigger part of how our government at the federal level raised revenue.
Right.
But a lot of people hear that and they say, okay, well, why don't we get back to that? It seemed like the economy was pretty good in the 1800s. We went from being a second world to a first world nation after all. But first of all, the tariffs weren't necessarily that high back then. The reason why it was a big portion of our federal budget was because our federal government was about 20 or 30 times smaller. So the real reason that we had tariffs back then, it wasn't because a whole bunch of people back in the 1800s thought that tariffs were just great for the economy. The reason was it was a much easier way to collect revenue than income taxes, which weren't even constitutional until 1913. And just think about it. Like nowadays, it's very easy for us to engage and have income taxes, and you can have tax withholding. You can do all this stuff electronically. But if you went back into a time machine to the year 1850, would that be a realistic way to raise revenue for a government? It'd be impossible. So the easiest thing for the government to do to raise revenue is to say, okay, whenever ships come into our harbor, we're basically going to toll them. We're going to charge them a rate. And that was basically tariffs. But they still weren't necessarily that high. So yes, we did use tariffs throughout the first roughly 150 years of American history, but it wasn't because we thought they were a good thing and that they made the economy boom and they were awesome. In fact, the reason why we got rid of tariffs in large part and we replaced them with the income tax as being our primary source of revenue is because over the years, tariffs have become such a source of contention within our country because they've been so corrupted. The really bad thing about tariffs, one of the many really bad things about tariffs, is that they give politicians so much power to pick winners and losers and control and cudgel industry. And that's one of the issues that led to so much tension between the North and the South for decades. You've heard probably of the tariff of abominations and all these different policies, but it's one of the reasons why we got rid of tariffs as being a primary source of revenues, because they opened us up to so much corruption.
We are just getting started. We've only got a minute left in this segment. We got economist Dr. Scott Burns with us. We haven't even gotten to the emerging markets part of this, where the world has changed between McKinley's time and ours, where we're at a point now where other nations, instead of paying those tariffs, can just go trade with other markets. I mean, the world is bigger and smaller at the same time. In the meanwhile, we'll wait to see how the rest of the day plays out. Keep your phone nearby. We got you on speed dial now, Scott. We'll get you back in real soon.
Absolutely. Well, it's good talking to you, Brian.
Likewise, always. He's Dr. Scott Burns, our go-to economist. Man, gummit. Yeah, the emerging markets part of this is another huge factor. And that I don't think anybody's talked about yet. The other part is how much is a bluff. How much of this is going to be backed off of? What's really going to come down today? Got to let it play out. And they factoring in the timing, and we're nowhere near an election cycle. That plays into it too. We'll get to all of it as the story evolves, as the story moves forward. Right now, here's news. Huh? Ooh. All right, it's time to get a look at your forecast. Here's WBRZ meteorologist Emma Cade Cowan. Ooh. .737 Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP, mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. Before we dive into our next topic, or set of topics, I should say, I got to remind you about the folks over at the Baton Rouge Metro Airport. FlyBTR.com is the website. FlyBTR.com. Does your business do business in our nation's capital? Well, if so, the Baton Rouge Metro Airport is here for you every single day. A direct flight out of BTR into Reagan National. Right there in the heart of it. I mean, not flying out to Dulles in the middle of nowhere, not flying out to, certainly not flying out to Baltimore. The flight to DC, it's up in the air, right? It's literally up in the air right now. Left at 7:00 this morning. The return flight comes back in the evening, so you can get your business done same day. Now, I mean, that's not saying if you don't want to stay in D.C., you can't come back the next night. That's fine. But think about that level of convenience, though, right? Fly to our nation's capital, maybe hit up Capitol Hill, whatever it is you got going on, and then fly back the same night. You're back in your own bed before the night is over with. And the D.C. flight is one of many that they've got over there at the Baton Rouge Metro Airport. When you're looking at making your travel plans, whether it be for business or for personal reasons, take into account the entire experience. And know that when you fly BTR, you don't have to haul all the way down the interstate, and you're taking care of a business is in your own backyard. FlyBTR.com. So the state police announced Monday that they've got they've intensified their efforts to, quote, address violent and organized crime in Baton Rouge. Last week, Governor Jeff Landry, in what is being called the State of the State Address, which I always thought the State of the State Address was what opened the legislative session. But last Wednesday, this was the Rotary Club. Jeff Landry was the featured speaker of the Rotary Club of Baton Rouge last Wednesday. And the governor gave a talk on a number of different topics. Of course, a lot of it was about Amendment 2. He talked about our wins in education moving up the charts. We'll talk with Cade Brumley in our next hour about that. But the governor also mentioned this. It's a bit long. It's about 50 seconds long, so bear with. But this is what the governor said to the Rotary Club last week.
Results. Now, I know that many of you said, well, I think you spent too much time in New Orleans because Baton Rouge has a problem as well. And I want you to know something. I feel you. Here's a little secret. We started with New Orleans because we figured if we fix New Orleans, we fix anything in the state of Louisiana. But we are getting ready to replicate some of the things that we saw and that we learned in the city of New Orleans, because there we've been able to reduce homicides by 50%, drive carjackings down tremendously, and the list goes on and on. We are getting ready to come to Baton Rouge. Get ready. It's coming. I've been talking to Hilla. I've been talking to Sid. In fact, that's part of what I was doing in the White House as well, talking to the Department of Justice, and we are going to get crime in the city under control.
State police followed it up, said the command staff met with leaders from FBI offices in New Orleans and Baton Rouge to strengthen our ongoing collaboration. And they said, together we built on our already strong working relationships, recent success in New Orleans, and our shared commitment to intelligence-led constitutional policing. By continuing to align our efforts and strategically combine resources with local, state, and federal partners, we reinforce our collective commitment to safeguarding the communities we serve, a responsibility strengthened through ongoing collaboration and shared purpose. State police said this in a social media post on the post was either over the weekend or on Monday. But the moral of the story here is, do you want to see Troop NOLA replicated in Baton Rouge? Tell you what, if you want to sound off on this, give us a call at 499-1073 or post your comments up on our Facebook live feed. We're always live on Facebook. That, by the way, courtesy of the folks over at Lake Urgent Care. But my takeaway from what Governor Landry had to say last week and what the state police had to say this week is no different than every time Police Chief TJ Morse is in with us. Is what's needed more than anything else? Manpower. And the chief will tell you that. Now, I'm sure he would like to see it within his own department. I'm sure he would like to see it through the recruiting efforts that they're always undergoing, and they're making up a little ground. But there's been a good chunk of time where there was, I don't want to say an anti-policing sentiment because I don't know that trickled all the way down to Baton Rouge, but nationwide there was. And there isn't a police force out there that isn't understaffed right now. But my follow-up question or questions would be, number one, is the nature of crime in Baton Rouge the same as it is in New Orleans? I mean, the governor mentioned carjackings being down in New Orleans. Is carjacking even a thing in Baton Rouge? When was the last time you heard about a carjacking? We have very specific crime problems here. Domestic violence is a huge problem, and drug deals gone bad is a huge problem. We also have very specific pockets where the crime is worse. Do you think a Troop NOLA style change to, we have the state police here in Baton Rouge already. We have a Troop A. But would a Troop NOLA style, a Troop BTR, would that be the silver bullet that fixes things? If we saw a 50% drop in homicides in Baton Rouge, or a 50% drop in shots fired in Baton Rouge, that would be phenomenal. Think about what a game changer that would be from your day-to-day headlines. I don't know of a day that goes by where we don't have, let me say that again. I don't know that we go a whole week without a story in top stories and trending about someone being killed, about someone being murdered, shot. It happens all too often. We'll go 2-3 days, everything will be fine. And then, I don't know, let's just go ahead and use this morning as an example, where 2 people were killed in separate shootings in less than 2 hours. The first was at Lamargie Avenue, and it appeared to be targeted. The second, while police were working on Lamargie, they could audibly hear the gunshots over on Avenue E. We have heard from not just our current police chief, but our previous police chief about the retaliatory nature of the killings in Baton Rouge. Today's suspect is tomorrow's victim, and today's victim is tomorrow's suspect. The retaliatory nature of this is every bit a part of the equation as anything else. Do you want to see a Troop NOLA style here in Baton Rouge? We're going to have Hiller Moore on before the week is over with. I really want to talk with him about that. But we're also, we'll have Chief Morse on next week. This conversation not going to go away anytime soon. But the second part of this question that I wanted to ask, and we're going to stick with Governor Landry here in just a minute, but the second part of this question I wanted to ask is, do you also like the level of attention being given, the level of awareness being given? To say, yeah, Baton Rouge, you got a serious crime problem. It's time to tighten up. I will tell you this. It's not new for Governor Landry. This is not something that he's doing to grab headlines now that he's, a full year in on as governor. This is not a headline grabber for him. I remember well before he was elected, well before he was running, we were just coming out of COVID. And as Attorney General, he convened a meeting of all the law enforcement players who at his office, which is, as the Attorney General, he was on the other side of the Capitol Lakes. But I remember attending, as a media member, I remember attending a meeting over there where you had, Hill or Moore, Tony Clayton were both in there. Chief Paul was in there. Sid Gotro was in there. You had numerous either police chiefs or sheriffs from the surrounding area in there, all sitting at one big table. Well, I guess it was 3 tables put together in a U shape. But they all came together to talk about what the nature of their individual problems were, what the hot spots were, what the potential solutions were. So I know when Jeff Landry speaks to the Rotary Club last week or any circuit where he's giving a talk, he's not just blowing smoke on this one. This is something that he's cared about long since before he was elected. I, for one, am eager to see this conversation play out. You just teased me with the possibility of lower crime, and I'm in for it. Meanwhile, you had Constitutional Amendment 2. That was the main point of the governor's speech last week. He put out a statement after it fell short. And I've seen news story after news story talking about how this one sentence within the statement drew ire from voters. Landry said positive change can be hard to implement in a state conditioned to fail. In fact, let me read you the whole statement he had, and then we'll dig in a little bit further. Amendment 2 was the chance to permanently lower the maximum state income tax rate, double the tax deductions for residents over the age of 65, create government growth limit, provide a permanent pay raise for teachers and school staff, maintain the homestead exemption and protect religious organizations, keep more tax dollars in local communities, allow for the elimination of the inventory tax, and protect against special interest tax breaks. Quote, the primary goal of Amendment 2 was to create a better opportunity for our citizens, to work towards inviting people into our state rather than have them leave. Unfortunately, George Soros and the far-left liberals poured millions into Louisiana with propaganda and outright lies against Amendment 2. Although we are disappointed in tonight's results, we do not see this as a failure. We realize how hard positive change can be to implement in a state that is conditioned for failure. We will continue working to give our citizens more opportunities to keep more of their hard-earned money and provide a better future for Louisianans. This is not the end for us, and we will continue to fight to make the generational changes for Louisiana to succeed. Does anything about that statement make you mad? When he says it is hard to implement, positive change is hard to implement in a state condition to fail. Is there anybody out there that can't honestly look in the mirror and say we are a state that's conditioned to fail? Political analyst Clancy DuBose had this to say about it.
He should have just said, hey, I got the message. I know that people want change, but they want to have more time to think about it, and they want to look at the individual items, and I'm going to work on that.
Yeah, I guess he could have limited his comments to that. But doesn't that ignore the fact that we've been looking at 50 years of spiraling downward? We've been looking at 50 plus years of the government creating a level of distrust in the government to where we expect our government to be corrupt and we expect our results to benefit a select few. I tell you what, let's push pause real quick. We'll come back to this in a little bit. We got to check your money now. We got to check traffic. It's 7:50. Who else died this week? A friend of mine on Facebook posts R.I.P. Iceman, and someone else says, "Yep, 2 giants in 1 week." Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know who the other one was. Okay.
$7:55 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. We got the third hour coming your way in about 4.5 minutes from right now. We'll have Dr. Cade Brumley on with us. We will have Congresswoman Julia Letlow, a little DC Current presented by LABI. Also next hour, we've got This Day in History coming up, and I can't wait because there's a few different stories that happened on this day in history that we're going to be diving in on there. I do want to get back into the story about the governor's response to Amendment 2 coming up short at the polls. And the follow-up news story saying we're all up in arms or a bunch of people are mad because the governor said positive change can be hard to implement in a state conditioned to fail. And I'm asking the question, well, aren't we a state that's been conditioned to fail? That to me, it doesn't feel like it's inaccurate. If for more than a generation, you find yourself on the bottom of every good list and the top of every bad list, that is a generation that is being conditioned to fail. If you have seen politician after politician after politician line their own pockets and the pockets of those around them, and they do so at the expense of our legislation, and that builds a level of distrust, isn't that the same thing as being conditioned to fail? When you expect your politician to do the wrong thing, when you don't trust elected officials, I don't see where the ire is here. Now, the amendment itself, I get it that a lot of people thought it was too long, but if you're undoing hundreds of constitutional amendments, I don't know that you could do it in just a few words. But I do understand that, like, when you bundle a whole bunch of things together, it could be, I believe the term I used was a monolith. Go back to Clancy DeBose talking with our news partners at Louisiana Radio Network. He says the governor's comments are not a fatal loss, but could become one if Landry keeps going down this road.
He's going to lose a lot of the goodwill that he had built up. And he's going to wind up being Bobby Jindal 2.0, which is a fate I would not wish on any governor.
Well, I don't understand. There's so much just being created out of thin air on this. There's so much that doesn't have anything to do with anything. How? Okay. You have a constitutional amendment that's looking to do something unbelievably major. Of everything Bobby Jindal did, nothing was this big of a bite at the apple at one time. This is unbelievably major to undo 50 years worth of constitutional amendments, to move things from constitutionally protected over to statute. To be talking about this in terms of Landry's about to be the next Bobby Jindal, that's just foolish. One more from DeBose. He says Landry needs to learn from this defeat and apologize for his comments.
A smart governor would be able to recover from this, but no governor gets everything he wants. So he needs to be more mature about how he handles the fact that he's never going to get everything he wants.
But all he said was, we are a state that is conditioned to accept failure. Maybe I'm missing the point. Maybe I'm just not seeing it. Maybe I somehow along the way became a Jeff Landry apologist. I don't know. But if you scroll through social media on Thursday or Friday of last week, and people were talking about this amendment and how they were going to vote, the overwhelming response is no, 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 we don't trust politicians. No, no, no. If this is out there, they're looking to line their own pockets. When the truth of the matter is looking to undo a lot of that. That's conditioning. It's exactly what he said. Hour 3 is next. Oh, you look good today. You got to be going somewhere. Rotary Club. I did the noon. You got another big. No. Somebody from sheriff's office talking AI. You know why I know I'm not very intellectual? I'm not that smart. I'm not the average guy my age. You think AI is that what? No, I'm not able. That's a funny whatever. Yeah, there you go. I was listening to the news yesterday, and it's like this guy telling them I used to work for Trump and this and that, and I know this thing. I'm not well rounded. I'm not intelligent. I don't know. You know what I mean? Oh, I wear huh? I wear it's like, dude, look, it's a lot more work to try and find something new every time, and I'm gonna swing in this a lot. Yeah, but I'm not right. But more to the point, I'm not hosting the same show every day, and I'll be damned if I'm gonna host the same show. That's not my DNA, Rich. And I hear you, dude. I can't even find somebody else with my DNA. Look, dude. Hey, not that it's a big deal. It's not. So I can't even believe I'm interrupting. Well, tell me. That is a big deal. You see any other basketball championships in that Maravich Assembly Center? By the way, it was basketball title number 50 for LSU. In all sports. Only one for basketball, though. Hey, Rich. I guarantee you, Edgar Wingard, when he beat Dixon Academy in 1908, LSU's first win in basketball, true story. He probably walked out and said, you know what? I can't wait for we win the national title. I think it was 1912 or 1913. Titanic? No. LSU went on the road to Covington, Louisiana. They played St. Paul's College. St. Paul's College won. Now, St. Paul's College eventually just became St. Paul's. You know what? That's why. And that's I'm not showboating. Hey, Rich, what happened on this day in 1842? Hang on. The Wallace thing? Yeah. Hang on. Hang on, man. I had it. You gave it to me. The dollar sign was yesterday. A guy named Wally Paul. Right. I had that. Yeah. Damn it. Wait. Holmes? That's right. D.H. Holmes today, baby. Is that site good? I haven't closed the window on it, man. Dude, it's so fast. Yes. Oh. The other story I was going to do there was Cassidy and his gender story, and I just really didn't want to do that. 806 Talk 1073 FM, WBRP, mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. Hour 3 coming your way right now. Brian here with you. John LaBeouf producing, 77 degrees in downtown Baton Rouge to start off your third hour. Still looking at a lot of cloud cover out there as well. The forecast you heard there coming in, we are expecting some wind throughout the day today. In fact, we should have wind like over 20 miles per hour throughout most of the day. Anywhere from 20 and 25 mile per hour sustained winds all day long today. So be ready for it. I don't know what that means. I mean, it's going to be worse elsewhere, but we will have a lot of wind as the day rolls on. Your high today is getting up to 86, tomorrow up to 88. Same thing for Friday. Saturday will top out at 86, and it's looking like late Saturday on into Sunday. That's when the next round of rain's coming in. So, all right. Every day at about this time, the folks over at 5 Star Printing and Signs, 2714096, 2714096 is their phone number. They bring you this day in history.
All right.
Yeah.
On this day, 1866, U.S. President Andrew Johnson ends the Civil War in Alabama, Arkansas, Florida, Louisiana, Georgia, Mississippi, and the list goes on.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Today.
He just said, stop it.
Yeah.
That's how it
That's
ended.
enough.
Yeah. I said, good day, sir.
And that's it.
That's exactly how that
it.
happened. It was 100% how that happened.
Hey, check this out. 1877, the first human cannonball act performed by a 14-year-old in London. I love when I find like these odd little pieces of history where it's like, first of all, you couldn't get away with that now. I mean, this is a 14-year-old kid. You put in a cannonball and you're like, have we ever done this before? No.
But
let's attempt it with this kid. It's insane.
14-year-old.
Yeah.
Was the first human cannonball.
It's insane.
Not like Evel Knievel.
No.
Not like Super Dave Osborne.
Rosa Matilda.
All right. Why not?
Rosa Matilda Richter. Yep. 1917, U.S. President Woodrow Wilson asked Congress to declare war against Germany. So while one war ended, another one, hey, we declare another one. A couple years later. 1968, 2001, A Space Odyssey was released. Directed by Stanley Kubrick.
Unbelievable movie.
Yeah. Today in music history, 1977, Fleetwood Mac's Rumors albums goes #1 and stays atop the charts for 31 weeks. Fascinating stuff.
Stupid. I'm sorry. I've overrated. Sorry.
Really?
Did I just say that out loud?
Ooh. It's kind of how I feel about the Beatles. Hey, look at this. 1992.
You get no objection from me on that.
Oh, no. I figured I wouldn't. It's just, listeners,
Well.
92. You'll appreciate this. Mafia boss John Gotti is found guilty of 5 murders, plus conspiracy to murder, loan sharking, illegal gambling, obstruction of justice, bribery, and tax evasion.
Yep.
The list goes on. Whew.
Yep. The Teflon Don had something stick.
Goes down in infamy.
Yeah.
2019. NASA
racketeering covers a lot of ground.
Yeah. 2019, NASA states it wants to send astronauts to Mars by 2033 and land on the moon again in 2024.
Okay.
That didn't really land.
No.
No. That didn't land. You mean go to the moon for the first time?
By the way, this day in 1982,
okay,
Argentine troops seized the Falkland Islands from the British in the Falkland Islands War. Yeah. They took the Falkland Islands today.
You know what? I'm going to get in trouble.
For what?
Because I was going to. What is it?
The Falkland Islands.
The Falkland Islands?
Falkland Islands.
Get the fork out of here. Taking over the Falkland Islands?
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah. I don't remember this. I didn't learn about this in history class, but I remember it vividly from The Crown. It was a big story in The Crown.
Yeah.
Big storyline, I should say, in The Crown. Took the Falkland Islands today. I don't remember. Was it like a one-day war?
Yeah, it might have been. I think that's it.
They broke. They broke in the afternoon for tea. It's just
Yeah. Nothing like tea time.
no, I know.
Hey,
Mine's Red Bull though. My tea of choice is Red Bull.
Red Bull. Hey, we were talking about billionaires this morning. Of course, in 2024, there are 141 billionaires according in the world. I guess Taylor Swift made this list.
There's 141 billionaires in the world.
Yeah,
this doesn't sound right because Todd Graves is number 293 at $9 billion worth of net worth. There, you can't.
Well, that's why I had to backtrack and read that again.
Yeah,
like,
I don't think this is
I looked at our notes.
I don't. Yeah,
wait.
Something doesn't jive here.
No.
All right.
But I guess 141 billionaires in the world in 2024. Has that list gone up since then? No.
Not by that much.
It couldn't have been going up that much.
Double in a year?
That's insane.
Something's amiss.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, almost forgot to rewind the clock back to 1842.
Yeah.
On this day
Way
in
back.
1842, Daniel Henry Holmes of New Orleans established the D.H. Holmes department store. That doesn't mean a whole lot for a whole lot of people in today's world. But if you grew up in South Louisiana, you remember D.H. Holmes.
Indeed, you do. No, that's a fascinating part of local history.
Also, last one before we move on to birthdays. It was on this day in 2 years ago. 102 to 85, your final score. Kim Mulkey and her LSU basketball Tigers defeat Iowa for the national championship. Birthdays, let's go.
All right. Starting off with actor Pedro Pascal today.
Is that the Mandalorian?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Actress Linda Hunt as well. I'm moving kind of fast through these.
Well, yeah, because we're super long.
Yes, we are. Bobby Bones today. Bobby Bones. The
who?
Bobby Bones. Come on.
I don't know who Bobby Bones.
He's the radio host. Bobby Bones show. Anybody?
Oh, yeah. All right.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, he's with the other guys.
The other guys. Yeah.
But
yeah, he's.
I forgot he was even a thing. Right.
Anybody else on your end?
Yeah. Well, you had one Star Wars with Mandalorian guy. How about Alec Guinness?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
He was born on this day in 1914. You had Charlemagne born on this day in possibly 747. I love that they have the day but not the year.
Yes.
Marvin Gaye was born on this day in 1939. And I had one more on the local front here. Oh, wait, no, hang on. Hans Christian Andersen, born on this day in 1805. And on the local front, we had born on this day in 1975. Former LSU Tiger, I think he played for the Bulls and the Suns. Randy Livingston.
All right.
Oh, the career that could have been. Boy, if he didn't have an injury.
Man.
Yeah. Randy Livingston's birthday today.
As far as deaths go, I got a major one here. Pope John Paul II.
Correct.
Today. As far as notable other ones, who else we have?
Oh, the guy Samuel Morse.
Okay.
Yeah. He died on this day in 1872. Buddy Rich died on this day in 1987. And that was all I had.
All right. As far as national days go here we go. Autism Awareness Day.
We'll take it.
Yeah.
I had PB&J Day, but I like yours better.
Yeah.
All right. It's 8:15. Talk 107.3 FM. We are super long. We've got Dr. Cade Brumley up next.
Is that
Yeah, please make sure.
Thank you for holding. Just confirming. This is Dr. Brumley. All right. Sounds good, sir. Yeah, we'll have you up here in about another 2 minutes. Thank you.
Why didn't the representatives push for the Constitutional Convention? They did. It was a non-starter. It was an absolute non-starter. It was not getting off the ground. They wanted a limited constitutional convention just as part of a special session and not like a 3-year project. Why not one bill, one law? There was no hidden language. Everything was written into it. I would like to see one bill, one law. But you were trying to undo more than 200 things at once. And I'm all for efficiency. If we're going to add to the Constitution, yes, one thing at a time. If we're going to subtract, round them up. (818) Talk 107.3 FM WBRP mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. Let's go straight to the hotline. Talk a little education with Dr. Cade Brumley, our state's superintendent of education. Dr. Brumley, how are you, sir?
Hey, man. Good morning. Hope you're doing well.
I am doing very well this morning. Let's see, April 2nd, which means we are less than 2 months away from the close of the school year. I know it's not. I know it's not time to start, ripping up notebooks just yet. But I would imagine for some third graders, it might be crunch time.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say April 2nd isn't that Liberation Day, and I was going to come with, what's liberating is a high quality education. But you didn't set me up.
Now. I could have had that one on the tee for you. I apologize.
Well, it is true. It is true. Anyway, no. So this year is the first year that the third grade retention law goes into effect. So for, in my opinion, too long, we promoted third graders on past third grade that really weren't academically prepared for success in fourth grade and beyond. So a few years back, legislation passed, and it basically said that if third graders can't exhibit some minimum levels of proficiency in reading, they could not advance into the fourth grade. And so that kind of ends this idea of social promotion that's been in place for a long time. And so it'll go into effect with this year's third graders. Now, the reason I feel confident that this is the right thing to do is because over the last several years, we have really invested our time and energy into policy and actions to improve elementary reading scores. And we've led the country for 2 consecutive cycles of the nation's report card on literacy. So I think that these elementary students, as they've matriculated from kindergarten on through third, have had really good opportunities. And we just want to make sure that kids are prepared to move into fourth grade. So this year's third graders will be the first group of students that if they cannot show that minimum proficiency, they would not be allowed to move into the fourth grade.
Do we have any kind of like preliminary numbers that can, kind of tip your office off, tip off your office as to whether or not there's going to be a huge number of third graders that don't meet the standard?
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good question, and I think it's one we've been thoughtful about over the last few years. So we were able to pass legislation that called for 3 reading screeners a year for elementary students. So these are like 5-minute quick hits. They get them 3 times a year, and it tells the teacher in a very responsive way, like what deficits or strengths the child has, very specifically with reading. And then we've communicated out to parents each time. So we're making sure we're being honest and transparent with parents about their child's ability or inability to read. And so we've done that at the beginning of the year. We just completed that at the middle of the year. Of course, we've seen good progress, and we'll do that again at the end of the year. And at that point, that will be those scores that will determine a child's ability to promote. So right now, I can't tell you, it's X amount or Y amount. I can just tell you that it's been tracked over the course of the year. Parents have been notified, and teachers have been getting the results and have been able to intervene and or provide tutoring in the appropriate way.
And this, I mean, being it being April 2nd, probably the heads up right now, if you are the parent of a third grader, double check. Now's the time you want to make up ground. You don't want to wait until the last week of school to find out, at that point it's too late.
Yeah, for sure. And we've communicated throughout this entire year to anyone who will listen, Brian, that if you have a child in the third grade, you need to make sure you're communicating and checking in with the school. And if you are a school servicing third grade kids, you need to make sure you're communicating out to families. And so it's a really big milestone that we hit this year in terms of our overall reading strategy in the state, which I think is the right strategy. It's proving to be. But everyone just needs to be aware of what's coming this spring.
We're talking with our superintendent of education, Dr. Cade Brumley. We will, of course, keep an eye on this as we move closer to the final day of school, for sure. In the meanwhile, we got a couple of other topics to talk about right now. We are, less than 2 weeks away from the closing of applications on the Gator Scholarship Program. What kind of response have we seen so far?
Yeah, so Governor Landry's signature education priority was ESAs, or educational savings accounts, scholarship accounts. The legislators passed the Louisiana Gator program last session. It became Act 1 of 2024. We opened applications for families on March the 1st. It closes on April 15th. And right now we're just south of 30,000 applications. So we have 29,000 applications for families that would like to have their child participate in the Gator program, which means they control their education dollars. They direct them to the school and or service provider of their choice. And so Governor Landry in his executive budget had requested $93 million for this program, which in the opening rollout would serve about 11,000 kids. So with the executive budget, the request was to serve about 11,000. Right now, we've got about 29,000 applications, and that closes on April 15th. If a family out there would like to apply, the website for that is lagator.la.gov. lagator.la.gov. We're taking applications through April 15th.
28,000 applications thus far. How many you said would be approved?
Well, the governor's executive budget funds 11,000 in the opening year, so we're almost 3 times that number that have applied so far. And the cities, like the top 5 cities where we're getting applications so far, New Orleans was number 1, Baton Rouge number 2, Metairie 3, Shreveport 4, and then coming in that 5 spot is Slidell. They're on the North Shore, so that was a bit of an odd one there in the top 5, but families across the state of Louisiana want school choice, Brian.
No, I completely understand. And as someone who grew up in West St. Tammany Parish, if I get the chance to chuckle at East St. Tammany, I'm going to. We're talking with Dr. Cade Brumley, our state superintendent of education. What happens there? I mean, is this you basically have a mandate now to go back in front of the legislature and say, grow this program?
Well, look, the governor, this was his signature program.
Yeah.
And the Department of Education, through the statute, is charged with administration of this program. So our next steps are we have our contract with our vendor that's helping support this program. We can't do this program without vendor support. No state in the country is doing it without vendor support because we did not want to grow the Louisiana Department of Education. We did not want to hire a ton of additional employees and have benefits and retirement costs. So we're letting the private market support this. So legislators are being asked to approve the amendment to that so that we can have that support. And then we move into the legislative session where the legislative leadership and legislators will work with the governor to determine, what amount of funding is appropriate for this program in year 1. And we are anticipating, as we're charged to do, launching the program for this upcoming school year.
Unbelievable. So we basically have to wait until we get more, though. I mean, your success can't be measured off of the number that are interested in it. Success is going to be measured off the number that actually succeed from it.
Well, yeah, and look, I've been really pleased with my agency's work so far on this. We have been able to have a really smooth launch. We've had our non-public schools have been able to register for the program to be service providers. Families, we've surveyed families so far that have applied. We have a 93% satisfaction rate with the process we've put in place so far. So we've done a really smooth job so far, Bryden, on my team. But we've got to get to the point of knowing what is the appropriation for the program, and then we really need to have a smooth launch come this August.
We got just a couple of minutes left with Dr. Cade Brumley, our state superintendent of education. I want to pivot one more time, Dr. Brumley, and talk internships if we could. The Leaders for a Better Louisiana put out a recent study, or shared a recent study that showed fewer Louisiana high school students complete internships than our surrounding states. I know with so much emphasis on just, making sure the kids know how to read and making sure that, we're improving math grades as well. Where are we on the internship front when it comes to the high schoolers and college for that matter?
We're not where we need to be. But Brian, I have had this conversation with you for almost 5 years and really was unable to get traction with the last administration and last state board to try to really incentivize internships for students in high school. That all changed with Governor Landry coming in. He believed in it. The legislators now believe in it. Our state board of education, Bessie, they now believe in it. And so we were able to refresh our state's accountability system so that we have an expectation that students that are going on that career path during their high school years, they participate in some type of internship activity. Because as I travel the state and I talk to business and industry leaders, or I talk to Rotary or Lions Club or Chambers of Commerce, they'll always say the same thing. One, we need people that aren't going to college to come out with a credential from high school, to come out understanding the soft skills, and they need some level of OJT, on the job training, before they get here. And we have not been responsive to that as a state for a very long time, because we've diminished the trades crafts and career education, and we've told everybody, and it's been a mistake, you've got to go to college, you've got to go to college. And so we're trying to lift the trades crafts and vocational education. We're trying to make sure that while students are in high school, they understand what it's like to go to a work environment and see that and experience that. And I'm thankful for our state board, because they put into our revised accountability system an expectation that schools and school systems across the state put an emphasis on this, because we're trailing our peers. We're trailing our peers in other states that have their students engaged in work-based learning opportunities in high school, and we have not done it. And we have a real opportunity now to do that, and I think we'll start seeing those numbers uptick.
And we got less than 30 seconds to go, so I hate to squeeze in one more question, but is the onus on your end for not pushing it enough, or is it on the business community end for not showing what's available enough?
Well, I think it can go around. You can blame a lot of different places, but we're just trying to look forward. So we've got all of our business community, both organized and then individual businesses. We've got school systems, we've got policy leaders consistently coming together right now to have the conversation of how can we make this work. And Brian, I'll tell you, I think that over the next couple of years, we will see a dramatic increase in students that are coming out of high school workforce ready.
And that is where we got to call it for today. Dr. Cade Brumley, we always appreciate the time.
Thanks for having me, my friend.
Thank you. Here's news. I think the moral of that story is that nobody likes Letlow. That's that entire segment. You know what I got out of that whole segment? Screw boy at junior high. Applications coming in from New Orleans, Baton Rouge, Jefferson Parish, Shreveport, and Slidell. Suck it, Salmon. I have to walk around for a minute. I'm like so jammed up. Yeah. I'll be back in a sec. What made her famous?
40-year-old virgin. Was that where she had a small camp? She was in there for like, she was in there that long, but was that it? Because then she did Zach and Miri make a porno with Seth Rogen. Then she had another movie with Paul Rudd. I can't remember the name of that movie. She was in kind of those movies, those comedy.
Okay. I know her from like she had like minor appearances on Modern Family.
Yeah.
She's a train wreck of a friend. And then now she hosts Pressure Luck. And I'm like, how did you like? I don't know. Like, I'm not questioning her
The trajectory of her career. Like, how did you get here?
questioning like what does she belong there or not? I'm saying I don't know how she moved into that role.
Yeah, she's directed a few things, but it failed. It was that reboot of Charlie's Angels that failed miserably. She directed that. Kristen Stewart was in it. I forgot who else was in it. I didn't.
I thought you meant the one with Lucy Liu and
oh no, those were
Cameron
actually,
Diaz.
Yeah, those actually I think did good at the box.
Yeah,
office.
they did.
But yeah,
but that
they tried
those. That was the reboot. Charlie's Angels was in the 70s.
Yeah.
The theme of today's show is I'm
reboot.
old. That's the whole like everything about today's show is I am old.
Well, I knew it was based on.
I just stand up because my knee was hurting sitting down. We are under a wind advisory until 7 p.m. tonight. No rain in the forecast today, but expect wind speeds to remain a sustained 20 to 25 miles per hour pretty much throughout the day. The wind advisory is going to be sticking around probably until about 6 p.m. tonight. The wind advisory sticks around until 7. Today's high gets up to 86. So, like, it's going to be windy and in the 80s. It's basically you're going to feel like you're in an air fryer today. 75 is your low tonight. Tomorrow we'll top out at 88. Friday we'll top out at 88. Saturday we'll top out at 86. And then Saturday night into Sunday morning, the rain rolls back through again. And I'm looking ahead to next week. Get a load of this. Sunday's high 68. Monday's high 63. Let's go. With an overnight low of 43. One last taste of the cold before we go full on hot. Right now, 77 degrees in downtown Baton Rouge. .838 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. Wasted no time at all. It's time for DC Current presented by LABI, the Louisiana Association of Business and Industry. We welcome back Congresswoman Julia Letlow. Congresswoman Letlow, how are you?
Good morning, Brian. I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm very well as well. We got a lot going on today. Can I start with something that's completely kind of out of left field?
Sure.
All right. The tariff talks, I should say. And today's supposed to be, Liberation Day, and we're all waiting on Donald Trump for him to give an address this afternoon that kind of spells everything out. From a congressional standpoint, what is y'all's role here? How dialed in have y'all been? What can you actually do?
Well, we're all awaiting that announcement today. But, I believe that the president uses tariffs as a negotiation tactic in order to deliver better results for our country, including supporting our industries and securing our border. And hopefully the tariffs will bring other countries to the table, ensuring positive long-term results. So, I trust the president that he's playing the long game here, and I trust his expertise in this area. So, again, I'll be watching just like everyone else, but we're all have a vested interest in this and want to make sure that we're doing right by the constituents we serve. So after the announcement, we'll go from there as far as what Congress can actually do.
Okay, I just the little check-in was all I was looking for there, and
Yeah.
I think that's spot on. We're all kind of in a wait and see mode right now.
It's Liberation Day.
And I don't even know what that means. Liberation from what?
We shall see.
I guess. All right. Well, speaking of serving your constituents, I would imagine a farm bill is pretty much near the top of your priority list these days.
Absolutely. I was just up in Bastrop at the chamber event talking about how important the farm bill is. We were sitting next to some farmers at the table, and Congress, we have to prioritize this, passing a long-term farm bill that will ensure certainty for our farmers and support our agriculture stakeholders. The farm bill, Brian, has been delayed for too long now. It's currently operating under a one-year extension that expires at the end of 2025, and extending the current farm bill spending at the end of the year was necessary given the circumstances, but we need an updated farm bill that reflects the market conditions farmers are currently facing. The Farm Bill covers a wide range of areas, including nutrition spending, conservation programs, crop insurance, and so much more. Agriculture and rural development are very important to Louisiana. It's one of my main industries that I represent. It's time for us to get the Farm Bill across the finish line. Our farmers deserve it, Brian. They've had a rough go the last couple of years. I'm tired of having to go to the mat to get supplemental funding for them when it should all be covered in a cohesive farm bill. So I'm encouraging my colleagues to get it done, get it over the finish line. We have no more excuses. We have to deliver for our farmers because, as you know, it's not just about putting food on the table. It's a matter of national security that we have to be able to feed ourselves. So you can tell I'm passionate about this.
Very much so.
Again, agriculture is huge for me.
The matter of national security to be able to feed ourselves. It is a spot America should never have to be in to turn to another country for our food. I mean, we're growing up beyond that, right?
Amen to that. I mean, just look a couple years ago at the formula shortage and how desperate parents were to be able to feed their children. We were having to fly in formula from all over the world. We should never be in a scenario like that again.
We're talking with Congresswoman Julia Letlow. This is DC Current, presented by the Louisiana Association of Business and Industry. You mentioned when it comes to food, Department of Agriculture, is the Farm Bill, is there a crossover here between the Farm Bill and the money that's needed that funds school lunches?
Yeah. So that all of that is covered. The Farm Bill definitely takes a look at that, but also my subcommittee on appropriations definitely is involved in school meals for children, and all of that is covered in the Ag subcommittee as well for appropriations. So we take a hard look at that as well, but definitely want to provide those lunches for our kiddos.
Well, and as we look at the potential closing of the Department of Education or squeezing down or however it wants to be phrased, this becomes of even greater importance, is to make sure that all other systems are a go, right? Everything else is still in working order so that nobody falls behind.
Right. And we have to make sure that we have that plan. I think you and I have talked about this before, that yes, I believe that less federal regulation over education is wanted, needed, warranted. We need to give that power back to the states and local communities, school boards as well. So that funding, that Title I funding will still exist. It will just go back to the states where it belongs, and then they will be able to make those decisions about how to best educate our children. I heard you had our awesome superintendent on before me, and he's going to do a great job of making sure that all of that continues to take place, and that our kids have what they need to thrive.
Just for and thank you for that. And we got Congresswoman Julia Letlow on with us. This is DC Current, presented by LABI. Just as a point of reference here, what are the sticking points to not get a farm bill across the finish line? I mean, what does opposition look like?
Well, you have a lot of some of my colleagues have issues with the SNAP program, and so there's a lot of negotiations that have to take place with all of that in order to move it forward. But again, I go back, Brian, we have control over both chambers. And also the president to sign it into law. So we have to, have the adults come to the table, have the compromises take place, but get that bill across the finish line. So it's going to be a lot of compromise, but I know that we can do it. I've seen us do far harder things in this Congress so far. So I'm confident we can do this.
I'm going to pivot here and talk Doge for just a minute. And this is another one where, I ask you what the Congress's role is with the president's tariffs announcements. What's Congress's role with Doge playing out the way it's playing out right now? What are y'all able to offer up are y'all able to offer up any kind of guidance? Are y'all able to get access to the kind of numbers that we're going to save? What is your role there?
Yeah. So I would love to talk about, Doge, the media has been pretty tough on them, but I want to talk about something that the national media hasn't focused on enough, and that's the money being saved under President Trump. And just this week, Brian, we learned that billions in COVID unemployment money will be returned to taxpayers. And this is coming out of the Labor Secretary Lori Chavez-DeRemer's announcement that she will be returning $1.4 billion, and that she's actively trying to recover another $3 billion. And Brian, Lori is one of my very best friends up here. I'm so proud that she is now our secretary, and she's going to stand up for taxpayer and root out the fraud. And the Biden administration was willfully distributing this money to states, even though they didn't meet program requirements. So I'm so excited, Brian. It's a new day up here with taxpayers finally having a seat at the table. And so I don't think that those type of stories are making the national headlines that they deserve. But that's the kind of numbers that we're seeing of that money that's going to be called back. Okay, returned to us how? Just like getting us, we're getting cut checks? Well, no, it's going to be returned to the Treasury, but it won't be used. It's going to be clawed back from the state. We're talking with Congresswoman Julia Letlow about, right now about Doge and returning what you said, $1.4 billion with the potential of another $3 on top of that. So if returned to the Treasury, then one of the things I keep running into, Congresswoman Letlow, is as much work as is being done to find efficiencies and to eliminate
waste, redundancy, and fraud, I don't know that my tax bill changes along the way. How do we get to that point?
Yeah, I'm hopeful. I mean, that's the administration and the secretary to decide how to redistribute those funds back to the taxpayers. But I'm hopeful that is part of their long-term plan in order to make sure that these dollars come back to you, the taxpayer, when they shouldn't have gone out for things that just were ridiculous as far as what was happening during COVID and unemployment and all that money that went out. I mean, it's the largest tranche of money. It's nuts, Brian, how much was wasted during that time. So I'm confident that this administration has what it takes to claw those dollars back, and then has a long-term plan on how to redistribute those back to the taxpayers.
Yeah, I just because you don't want to repeat history, right? You don't want to cut everyone a check and have that sudden influx of windfall into the economy, and then we would see the same repercussions that we saw last time when it came to inflation. So obviously, we don't want to do that. But at the same time, though, if the money belongs to the people, it's got to get to the people.
That's right. That's right.
I don't know what the answer is there.
Well, I'm hopeful that this administration is going to figure it out, but stay tuned. I'll have some more concrete answers for you next time.
Awesome. Looking forward to that. In the meanwhile, what are you working on this week?
You know what? We just got word that we're going home. So I'm excited to get back in the district, start traveling around again. I think I shared with you last week, it's appropriation season. So we are working with all of our local elected officials to see what kind of projects they have going on. So you'll find me out and about working all 21 parishes.
All 21 parishes. It is,
hey,
yeah.
You know what, Brian? I went down. I did have 24 parishes, and now I'm down to 21. So I'm trending in the right direction.
Okay, all right. I guess that's a plus.
Yeah.
Congresswoman Julia Letlow joins us about this time every week for DC Current, presented by LABI. Congresswoman, hopefully you can swing by while you're in town, while you're back in the district. I know we're just one of 21 parishes, but if you're around, holler.
Absolutely. We'll be happy to do it. Thanks, Brian.
Thank you. We'll talk to you soon. Talk to you next week at the very latest. That is Congresswoman Julia Letlow. Need just a second to remind you about the folks over at Vex European. Check them out online. VEX, V as in Vinny, VexEuropean.com. If you drive a European vehicle, you bought that for a couple of reasons, right? Performance and longevity are on that list. That's what you get out of Vex European. You want to make sure the investment you made in your European vehicle lasts for as long as it's humanly possible. That's what you get from Vex European. You want to make sure when you hit that gas pedal, you get that giddy up. Check out VexEuropean.com. Hit the little drop-down tab where it says vehicles. If you see yours on there, go hit up the little drop-down tab where it says specials. See if you can't save $100 on your first visit, and then do like I did. Hit the appointments tab. Get to know Vinny. Get to know Vinny's team. They're here for you. Vex European. They've been around for 10 years. Check them out at VexEuropean.com. Oh. What?
You had mentioned that it was time for DC Current. I almost hit the bumper for it.
Damn it.
I know, but I didn't want to like.
No.
I mean, when you were queuing up for it, I'm like, oh.
I need reminders of that.
Yeah.
Okay. Shit, that's on me.
I was just listening back to it because I'm playing it back. I'm like, oh shoot, yeah, I was so close. It was like it's time for DC Current. Almost like. Yeah, but we've only used it like
I know.
Two or
Well, I mean,
three
I've been
times.
doing the segment since I started the show.
right.
I've been doing segments since
And
2019.
you've never had an
open for it.
Opener, yeah.
And it's one of the first things I got sponsored. Lobby was on board with us from the beginning. They love it.
Oh, nice.
Oh, oh no. What have I not teased yet? Let me do Landmark Bank, another Dreams Come True read, and then I'll do the NFL here. Oh, I didn't put it on the sheet. I'm blowing past the outside in today.
Okay.
The NFL's getting rid of the chain gang. Oh shit! All right. Oh, I believe we've got Tim Temple on tomorrow. If I'm not mistaken.
Nice.
Yes.
Yes, we've got Tim Temple.
Eight 56 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. In fact, we're about to be out of here, y'all. This we're gonna hand off to Moon Griffon in our after this segment here. Moon's got you covered from 9 to 11. Before we dig in on this segment, got to remind you about the folks over at Landmark Bank. LandmarkBankLA.com is the website. LandmarkBankLA.com, founded over 100 years ago as a community bank. In 2025, Landmark Bank is a community bank. They have never strayed from the formula. They have never gone away from what absolutely works. And what works is making sure you don't just have a bank, you have a banker. Relationships. That's what they're all about. That's what they've been about. So when you're planning out your future for your personal life, when you're mapping your family's future, for your business, when you're taking that leap to start a new business or grow your business, you have a banker. Someone you can call and have a relationship with that says, we can help you here. Here's how we're going to grow. Check them out online, landmarkbankla.com. Landmarkbankla.com. I was supposed to talk about the NFL in this segment, and now I don't know that I'm going to. Something wasn't, John, we got to clear something up, man. Something wasn't sitting right with me.
What's that?
The wording of a story. Tell me if this is off to you. It was in top stories and trending. Okay.
Okay.
Two people were, and it hasn't been sitting right the whole time, but I finally got the opportunity during a break to look it up. Two people were killed in separate shootings in less than 2 hours on Tuesday. The first person was shot to death around 6:30 p.m. at a Lamarche Avenue near North Christie Drive. Police said it appeared to be a targeted killing. Now, here's where I'll lose this, okay? Police said it appeared to be a targeted killing. While officers were at the scene, they heard nearby gunfire that sent onlookers dashing for cover. The second killing occurred on Avenue E shortly before 8 p.m. The victim in that shooting was an elderly man, who has since, by the way, been identified, but that's neither here nor there.
Yeah.
Avenue E is nowhere near Lamarche Avenue. Lamarche Avenue, okay, you know how I'm talking about those pockets, those hot spots, if you will?
Yes.
Lamarche Avenue is one of those. It's just north of Florida Boulevard. It's in between Florida and Choctaw. If you're looking up Lamarche Avenue, you're going to find shots fired more frequently than you will in most places in Baton Rouge. Avenue E is way up. It's way up north of Southern University. So
there's no real.
I don't think they heard gunshots fired from Avenue E when they were working the scene at Lamarche. It hadn't sat right with me all morning. I don't know why. Why do I feel the need to clear that up? Like it doesn't affect anybody's life at all. But nobody heard that from point A to point B.
No, I think it's worth bringing up.
Yeah.
I mean, especially if it's. So you're saying there's possibly a third shooter?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. They weren't the same gunshots. All right, we got to get out of here. Don't forget, Dreams Come True Radiothon, brought to you by the Baton Rouge Clinic, is off and running. Visit talk1073.com to make your donation today. We're all done. Moon's next. Facebook, I got to get out of here. Pressed for time today because of Rotary Club, and I got to write my news. So we shall see you on the morrow.